Hi guys, hope you're all okay. Welcome to another Thursday night live stream, which will be a special Christopher Lee themed night. So if you love Christopher Lee as much as I do, get your comments and questions here rolling in. I'll just set myself up here, guys, with the comments. Won't be a tick. Oh, by the way, guys, let me know if there's any problem either with the audio or the visual. Because again, I'm using this plug and play microphone. So please don't hesitate to let me know if there's any problems at all. With the sound or indeed with the visuals, which hopefully there won't be. Yeah. All right then, guys. So let's just get these comments underway. Hope you've all had a good week anyway, and if you've been Blu-ray DVD hunting, I hope you've managed to pick up some bargains. Okay, so we've got Jock McTodger. Hiya Jock, rest in peace Raquel Welch. It was very sad about her, wasn't it? Yeah, very sad. Yeah, fine actress. Yeah, and a very popular with the male viewers. Yeah, I was shocked when I heard about her death yesterday. Tony Crosby, you okay, To? Good evening, Alan, and all. I cannot wait to get my teeth into tonight's topic. You're as bad as me when I said thanks very much before. Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, very appropriate term in a Christopher Lee themed night. Bailey and Ethan are Ghostface in Scream 5-6. In Scream 6, new characters Detective Bailey and Ethan revealed to be Ghostface. They are related to Stu from the first film. All right. Bailey and Ethan in Scream 6 new characters. Is that the same one? Yeah, I'm not really a huge fan of the Scream franchise. I like a couple of the movies, but I'm not a avid fan of them, Oh, these are getting a bit repetitious here. Sorry guys, I just got to clear it up there. Yeah. Brian's here. You okay, Brian? Hope you've had a good week. Hi Alan, how are you? I'm not too bad, thanks mate. Yeah, hope you are as well. Jeff's here. You alright, Jeff? Hope Alan hasn't gone to bed early. It's 8:03 PM. Don't go to bed early much, Jeff, no. Brian Gilson, I deleted the trolls messages. Oh, thanks very much, Brian. Yeah, appreciate it, yeah. I thought that last one was getting a bit repetitive. Edward, you okay, Edward? Ian and Alan, hope you're well. Yeah, I'm not too bad, thanks, mate. Hope you are too. Richard Brown, good one, Brian Gilson. Yeah, I'd certainly echo that. Jeff Joffe, evening. Mel's here. You alright, Mel? Good evening, Alan. Good, and a very good evening to you as well, Mel. Thanks for dropping by. Hope you've had a good week. Brian Gilson's sound is really good. Oh, that's what I like to hear. Pardon the pun. Yeah, oh, thanks very much, Brian. Yeah, as I say, don't hesitate. If there's any problems at all, do let me know. I'll do my best to, rectify it. Oh, not these again. Where's my zap button? Jeff Joffe, Mike is great. Oh, that's what I like to hear. Oh, thanks very much, mate. Yeah, good. Yeah, I've been experimenting with the Jeff, with the settings, to try and get it perfect. I wish this idiot would go away. Go on, get thee behind me, Satan. Chestnut 7 is saying good evening, Alan and everyone. You okay? Very good evening to you. Tony Crosby, looking good, sounding good. Oh, that's what I like to hear, too. Thanks very much, mate. Jeff Joffe, 82, not that old for movie stars, some lived to over 100. Yeah, that's how old Raquel Welch was, wasn't she, when she sadly passed on? 82. Yeah, it's not old now for movie stars, I think, look, Clint Eastwood, he must be in his, I think he's in his mid-90s, isn't he? Still going strong. Brian Gilson, thanks, Richard, yeah. Gina Walpole, hi Alan and everyone. You alright, Gina? Brian Gilson, I removed him from the channel. Oh, thanks very much, Brian. Yeah, they're bloody nuisances, those trolls. They really are. Yeah. Alright then, guys. So seeing as this is a special Christopher Lee theme night, I've got a couple of Christopher Lee books to show you here. So I've got two actually. There you go. Got the Christopher Lee Christopher Lee Film Encyclopedia, which is, sorry guys, that one. Fantastic book. And also got the Christopher Lee Filmography. That's a great one as well. What I like about that one, Christopher Lee comments on it, every single movie what he's made, you know. Yeah, he gives his thoughts on it and that, you know. So I'll show you more of these later. Yeah, so 2 fantastic books there for any Christopher Lee fan. So there you go. And of course, I got the Christopher Lee Eurocrypt Volume 2. So if you've been watching my channel, you'll know I've done an unboxing of that. Yeah, so I'm really made up with that. So I can't wait to get me fangs into that. Oh, I must stop these awful puns. Melanie's saying, love Christopher Lee as Dracula. Me too. The greatest Dracula ever, Mel. The greatest Dracula ever. He had an amazing on-screen presence. He did indeed, yeah. Very, very charismatic, wasn't he? Yeah. Not just in the Dracula movies, but in every movie he made. You know, I loved him in The Man with the Golden Gun as well. You know, where he played Scaramanga. Yeah, oh, he's great in that. Yeah, and The Wicker Man. Fantastic. Where he played Lord Summerisle. Yeah, oh, he's made some fantastic films, Christopher Lee. Yeah. Very, very long and distinguished career, and still very, you know, very much sadly missed to this day. Richard Brown, Christopher's autobiography is a fantastic book. Lord of Misrule, yeah, I've read that a couple of times. It's a great book, isn't it? Yeah, very good, yeah. Fantastic, yeah. Sam K.A. Hello, Alan. About to watch Silent Hill. Have you seen it? I saw a bit of it a couple of years ago. Isn't that the one where she goes to this like town and it's shrouded in fog, and doesn't she go looking for her daughter? I didn't watch it all, but I think that's the one. I think that's the one you mean, Silent Hill, yeah. And it's all like sort of like robotic mutants in the town, isn't there? Yeah. They haven't seen the sequel though, but I'd say I've only seen part of that one. Brian Gilson, what did you think of the Wicker Man sequel? Not very good. No, I know Christopher Lee had a cameo in it, didn't he? But I'm not sure if he was playing. I don't think he was playing Lord Summerisle, was he? I think he was playing another character. The Wicker Tree, it was called, wasn't it? Yeah, nowhere near as good as the original Wicker Man. No, I didn't think much of it. I didn't think much of the Wicker Man remake either, with Nick Cage. Yeah, so yeah, my favourite Wicker Man is the original one, you know, from 1973. Jeff saying, love Chris and Dr. Terra's House of Horrors. Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. Oh, that hand, yeah. That scene in the pub when a guy puts his hand on Chris's shoulder and Chris thinks it's the severed hand. Oh yeah, he's very good in that one, isn't he? Yeah. Dr. Terra's House of Horrors is one of my all-time favourite horror anthology movies, and if you guys have been following me regularly, you will know how much I love the Amicus movies and that. Yeah, take pride of place in my horror DVD and Blu-ray collection. Love me horror anthology movies, but of all the horror anthology movies I own to date, Amicus #1 for me, always. Yeah, a lot of the horror anthology movies they're making now, guys, the stories don't seem to make much sense. You know, you might get a gang of teenagers in them in the woods, the same old thing, and then I don't like these sort of like jump cuts what they make, you know, and flashbacks and that. I don't know why a lot of these modern producers insist on putting these bloody jump cuts and flashbacks into movies. It disturbs the pace of the storyline, you know. Yeah, so yeah, I hate them, I really do. This guy's popping up again here. Tony's saying the man was the definite Dracula, and I loved him as Lord Summerisle. Yeah, definitely. Richard Brown, he's fantastic as Mycroft Holmes in The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes. Yeah. Graham Powell saying, I thought Lee was most menacing into The Devil a Daughter, apart from the daft ending. Yeah, I wasn't too keen on the ending myself. It felt very rushed to me. Yeah, very, very rushed, yeah. But it started off such a good movie, didn't it? To The Devil a Daughter. He played this sinister priest, yeah. But yeah, that ending. You know, I've said this before, guys, in previous streams and previous videos. You might get a movie that's good. About 95% of the movie is good, and it completely comes crashing down when they tack on a duff ending at the end, you know, a duff climax at the end, you know. But yeah, I've watched a couple of movies like that, and I've even read books as well. And when talking about books, guys, and indeed films as well, a big duff ending that springs to mind is that awful ending of Stephen King's It. Now you'll know what I mean. The spider, the giant spider. Oh, Oh my days, what a disappointing anticlimactic ending that was. All along that story, when I read the novel before I watched the miniseries, and of course the modern remakes. All through that movie, I was expecting to be like a real demonic creature, like Dracula, and have a big final confrontation in a creepy house, But when it was a giant spider, it could totally ruined it for me, guys. Yeah, and he thrusts his fists against the post and still insists he sees the ghost. Oh, jeez. Yeah, very, very disappointing ending. Mel's saying Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing were some team. They certainly were. And as I said before in previous live streams, whenever I saw the TV schedule, in the paper or the TV Times, and I saw that Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing were on in a late night movie, it was really made up. It was a real treat. Seeing the two Hammer stalwarts together in one movie, oh yeah, fantastic team, yeah, very much along the lines of Karloff and Lugosi, if you wanted to go back even further. Oh, but yeah, they made a dynamic pair, they really did, Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, and very, very good friends as well, off stage, yeah. They used to, they often tell a funny story about when they used to converse on the phone and that, and they'd make like Bugs Bunny noises and Daffy Duck noises down the phone to each other, and Peter Cushing said, oh dear Christopher, he used to have me in absolute stitches, he said, because he'd do this funny voice over the phone like Daffy Duck or Bugs Bunny. Oh, Peter Cushing said, oh, he had me in stitches, yeah. But oh yeah, fantastic pair, yeah. Pete's here. You're right, Pete. Yeah, thanks for dropping by. Evening, Alan. Hope you are doing well. Great topic tonight, mate. Oh, yeah, thanks very much, Pete. Yeah, I've been wanting to do a Christopher Lee theme stream for quite some time, so I thought to myself, I'll do it this week, yeah. So, I'm really looking forward to it. And that, I say, love Christopher Lee, especially when he takes Dracula, and there's other movies as well, but yeah, thanks for dropping by, Peace. Nice talking to you again. Tony's saying, Tony Crosby, his heavy metal records are weird but very enjoyable. Oh yeah, he made a couple of heavy metal records, didn't he? Oh, he was as well as being a very, very consummate actor, he was a fantastic singer as well. Yeah, baritone. He had this deep baritone voice, didn't he? And I've watched interviews with people who've worked with him, and they used to say, oh, it was nothing to pass Christopher's dressing room and hear him singing and that, the top of his voice, getting the sort of like vocal cords, oiling his vocal cords, as it were. Oh yeah, very, very fine voice he had, yeah. He was a multi-talented man, wasn't he? He done some great voiceovers as well, and he also read. I don't know if you guys ever saw that series he done. I don't know if it was for the BBC, the M.R. James ghost stories, where he used to sit in a chair, sort of like taking the part of M.R. James off, and he'd read the ghost stories out, what M.R. James wrote. Yeah, oh yeah, a man of many talents, undoubtedly. Richard Brown saying, always have a soft spot for To the Devil a Daughter. Yeah, as I say, it's not a bad movie, but that ending, it really let it down. Yeah, he was too easily. Well, if anybody hasn't seen it, I won't give away the end. But yeah, it was that very disappointing ending. Yes, Sam's saying, I watched The Wicker Man last night, the original. It's a good film, definitely. Yeah, that's one of my all-time favourite horror films, The Wicker Man. Fantastic, yeah. And I love the way it starts off. When Edward Woodward goes to the island and that, it starts off as like you think it's going to be like a gentle rustic movie, don't you? Like maybe even a love story. And I like the folk songs as well that sang throughout the movie. But the horror builds up, doesn't it, at the end? Oh yeah, once Sergeant Howie latches on to what they're up to, this cult on this island. Oh yeah, it really goes very, very dark, And when he confronts Lord Summerisle, and he throws the rabbits down on the floor, and he says, "Look what I found in the girl's grave," and that. Oh yeah, it does take a very, very dark turn. I think it's an absolute masterpiece, that Wicker Man, And Christopher Lee, I think I remember him saying it's his favourite movie. Yeah, but he's great in that. Playing Lord Summerisle. Yeah, love The Wicker Man. It's an absolute classic. Watch it anytime as well, even though I know the ending. It's that sort of movie. It's got such a high rewatchability factor, if you get me drift. Jeff Joffe is saying, I saw Chris and Boris Karloff in Corridors of Blood. Good film, made in 1958, but not really a horror. Corridors of Blood? I don't think I've seen that one, Jeff. I've seen Chris and Boris in the Case of the Crimson Altar, what they made in 1968, and Barbara Steele's in it. But I don't think I've seen Corridors of Blood. No, I'll have to check that one out. There's one or two I've missed, you know. And these ones I've got now in the Christopher Lee Eurocrypt collection too. I've seen none of those movies, so I'm really looking forward to checking those out, especially the two where he plays Dracula. You know, really looking forward to them. Dracula and Son, and my uncle was a vampire, or my cousin was a vampire. Richard Brown, Horror Express, what a corker. I'd certainly second that. It's a great movie, Horror Express. Telly Savalas makes a cameo and appearance, doesn't he? About halfway through the movie. Oh yeah, I love Horror Express. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, and with me, of course, being a lover of winter, I love the wintry the wintry setting as the train's speeding along. You know, the countryside and that. Yeah, the snowy setting. Yeah, oh yeah, it's a great movie, Horror Express, and it goes in a direction what you don't expect it to go in. You know, yeah, great movie, absolute classic. Chestnut 77 is saying, very good opera singer too. Yeah, he certainly was. Sometimes I read he used to sing on set. Sometimes, oh yeah, that's what I just touched on before. Yeah, the people that worked with him, they said it was nothing to hear Christopher, you know, practicing, you know, oiling his vocal cords, you know, singing in his baritone voice, you know, as you passed his dressing room door. Yeah. Jeff's saying, to Richard Brown, bit controversial that film now. What would the 15-year-old naked girl to the devil adores her? Yeah. Oh, what they're going to? What's the name now? They're going to Sensitive now, but the least little thing. I wasn't very happy, guys, to hear that my favourite Carry On movie, Carry On Screaming, has been cut to ribbons. How dare they? How dare they? There's nothing wrong in that movie. You know, I don't want to go on rant too much about it, otherwise and wherefores of woke. But I have to say, you know, when I heard that Carry On Screaming had been heavily cut, I was not too pleased, and I'm just glad I've got the Blu-ray to put on, you know, the uncut Blu-ray to watch whenever I want. I actually hope to do a review of that maybe in a couple of weeks' time. My all-time favourite Carry On movie. Oh, Mrs. Carry On Screaming, yeah. But yeah, they want to leave all movies alone. They've done the same with Gone with the Wind and countless others, yeah. The Woke Brigade. I don't know about Woke Brigade, the bloody Nutcase Brigade. Tampering with things, much loved traditions. Leave them alone. See, they're sitting on the big fat asses. I mean, I don't want to go on too much, guys. They're sitting on the big fat backsides, and they said, "Oh, what can we cancel now? Oh, I know. We'll cancel a line from a 1958 movie, Carry On Sergeant." Bloody pathetic, if you ask me. Oh, brainless morons they are. Right. Richard Brown, Natasha Kinski. Yeah, she was in the remake of the Case of the Cat People, wasn't she? Natasha Kinski. Jeff's saying yes. Tony Crosby is saying he also looked great on the record sleeve of Paul McCartney and Wings Band on the Run. He did, yeah. There was a host of celebrities on that, wasn't there? Yeah, that's a great cover, that Band on the Run. Yeah, he got everything but the kitchen sink in there, didn't he, Paul McCartney? Yeah, but yeah, Christopher Lee. Yeah, he strikes up a great pose on that. Great album too. Yeah, love Band on the Run. I tell you, while we're on the subject of Wings, guys, I don't know about you, but you know, there's two songs what I think absolute classics. What Wings made, Junior's Farm, and that other one what they made. Oh God, what was the other one they made? Junior's Farm. Oh yeah, With a Little Luck. You don't need them played much, do you? It's always the same ones, like, you know. I do love Band on the Run, but I think they do play that quite a lot, you know, and Mull of Kintyre. But, you know, the likes of With a Little Luck and Junior's Farm, which are two of my favourite Wings songs. I can't remember the last time I heard Junior's Farm and With a Little Luck played on the radio. Yeah, fantastic, yeah. And that other one where he made in the spring of 1979, Don't Say Goodnight to Love, that's a good one, yeah. Oh, he made loads, didn't he, Paul McCartney? Dr. Impossible's here. You alright, Doctor? Hope you've had a nice day. Thanks for dropping by. Sorry I had to bring the chat down, but I do like a good airport movie, Airport 77. A lot of people do, yeah. The concept was totally outrageous, but the film had Jack Lemmon, Evening. Do you know what? It's been years since I saw Airport 77. He made a couple, didn't he? I don't remember too much about it. As I say, it's years since I saw it. And the spoofs what they made as well, Airplane and Airplane 2. Years and years since I saw them. So again, I don't remember too much about them. But I do. I have seen Airplane on the HMV Premium range. Yeah, they're sadly going out of business, aren't they? Yeah, very, very sad, because they released some fantastic titles at HMV. Yeah, but oh yeah, they're getting back to those movies. Yeah, I say, like, I don't remember too much about them, because it's years since I last watched them. Mel saying, love Christopher Lee and Lord of the Rings as well. Yeah, I'm not really, to be quite honest with you, Mel, I'm not really into the Lord of the Rings movies. I tried to get into the book countless times by J.R.R. Tolkien, and I just couldn't get into it. It's like some of Charles Dickens' books, you know. I've tried to get into them and that, you know, Great Expectations, and just can't get into them. I think the only real two Charles Dickens books I've got into was A Christmas Carol and Oliver Twist. Yeah, Oliver Twist, but apart from that, you know, it's the same with H.P. Lovecraft as well, the horror writer. It's the way they write their prose, you know, it's very, you've got to sort of like really concentrate, you know, on every sort of like line, because it's very, very sort of like big chunks of text and that. And you do get writers like that, you just can't get into their stories. It's just the way they're, well, that's just my opinion anyway. But yeah, they're very, very difficult to get into. But yeah, but getting back to Lord of the Rings, yeah, I'm not really a great fan of that, but I do know, you know, obviously it goes without saying it's a very, very popular franchise. And the clips I've seen of Christopher Lee playing the wizard, oh yeah, awesome. Absolutely awesome. Chestnut 7 is saying, I got to the devil a daughter in a charity shop for 50p. That was a bargain, wasn't it? Was it the Blu-ray or the DVD? Rapscallion is saying, Christopher Lee was one of the better Bond. Oh, Scaramanga, yeah. I think he's actually my favourite Bond villain, Scaramanga. Yeah, oh yeah. Well, of course, I'm a huge fan of Christopher Lee, so I'm not going to say anything else, am I? When it comes to broaching the subject of Bond, he's definitely my favourite villain in the Bond movie, Scaramanga. Yeah, oh yeah, great, yeah. Yeah, 1974, I believe, wasn't it, was released. I love the theme song as well, what Lulu sings, The Man with the Golden Gun. Fantastic, yeah. Oh, nobody could play a villain like Christopher Lee. I think I've only seen him in a handful of roles where he's been like a goody hero character. The one that springs to mind is that he was a goody in The Devil Rides Out, wasn't he? He played the Duke de Richelieu. Yeah, he was. I was surprised actually when I first saw that movie, because I said to my family, "Oh, Christopher Lee, he's playing a goody for once." Yeah, but oh yeah, I love that one. The Devil Rides Out, absolute classic, based on the Dennis Wheatley novel. Jeff's saying, she told the producer she was 18, right? Brian's saying he was great in The Devil Rides Out. He certainly was, Brian. Yeah, that's a Hammer classic, that The Devil Rides Out. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. Oh, and that creepy theme music as well, and the you know the satanic symbols and that to come up. Oh yeah, yeah. And when the devil appears, like, you know, when it's sort of like in the forest and that. Oh yeah, so many memorable moments in that. Of course, when they're in the circle as well, you know, and the devil comes in on the horse and that, and the giant spider. Oh yeah, real horror movie that. Richard Brown, he was Dennis Wheatley's friend. Yeah, I think I read that somewhere. Dr. Impossible, though Christopher Lee didn't last long in Airport 77, I don't remember that. As I say, it's years since I watched that one, Airport 77. Is that the one? Wasn't Linda Blair in that one as well? Airport 77. I'm sure she was in that one. They're remaking they're doing the Exorcist franchise this year, aren't they? With the like they've done with Halloween, the Halloween treble. Nice. Tony Crosby is saying, I have. Oh, hang on. Sorry. I have To the Devil a Daughter on the big square Hammer DVD box set. Yeah, I've seen that box set. It's a nice set. Yeah. Oh, it's a great movie, that, To the Devil a Daughter. Graham Powell, he was great in The Devil Rides Out, yeah, one of my favourite Hammer films, yeah. Brian Gilson to Richard Brown. Dennis Wheatley gifted him a book as he was really happy with his performance in the film, yeah. Chestnut Step 7, Hound of the Baskervilles, yeah, definitely, oh yeah. That's one of my all-time favourite Hammer films, that, The Hound of the Baskervilles, yeah, and the late great Peter Cushing as well as Sherlock Holmes. Awesome movie. Jeff Joffrey, what did they cut out of Carry On Screaming, Alan? I know, yeah, yeah. Well, this is what I've been told, Jeff. I don't know exactly the lines what they saw fit to excise. But yeah, I'm very annoyed over it and that. You know, I hope they haven't cut out frying tonight. That's my favourite scene in that. Always reminds me of the Chippy. He used to call into the local Chippy on the way home from the nightclubs and that, you know, in days gone by. Yeah, the old Chippy frying tonight. Yeah, yeah. I hope they haven't cut that out. That's an iconic moment. That, yeah. They might have cut out. I don't quote me on this, but maybe they cut out the parts where Oddbod picked up Fenella Fielding and he carted away and started you know, being a naughty boy with her. But don't quote me on that. You know, she's saying, put me down, you know, and you can hear him stuff like, well, your imagination gets going. You can imagine what he's doing, yeah. But, oh, she looked gorgeous in that red dress, didn't she? Vanilla Fielding, oh, yeah. She attracted many a male admirer when she wore that tight red dress, yeah. I loved Harry H. Corbett in it as well, you know, with the smoke coming out of the ears and the nose, was it? She's smoking, yeah, great, yeah. Jim Dale was good in it as well. Well, they were all good in it, you know, fantastic, yeah. It was a kind of spoof, wasn't it, of the Hammer horror movies, yeah. Very, very well done. Yeah, I love Carry On Screaming. So, yeah, I'll be doing a review of that in a couple of weeks' time, yeah. I hope they release all the, they released a couple of the Carry On movies on Blu-ray. I've got a couple there in my collection, but I'd love to see a big bumper set of all the Carry On movies and that, and loads of special features, yeah. So fingers crossed, guys, it could happen sooner rather than later without the cuts. Bloody nuisance the way they're going mad with all this woke rubbish and you know, gender inclusive and all that. Oh, never known times like these. They want to get tough on. They want to get. I don't want to get all political, guys, but just they want to get tough on the things that matter, like the knife crime and these bloody yobs and that. You know, vandals and that. They want to get tough on them. Never mind tampering with harmless things. You know. Oh, it makes your blood boil, guys. Every time you think about it, it really does. Richard Brown is great in The Devil Rides Out. Yeah, he was an expert on the occult in real life. Yeah. Now they said like touching on the occult there, Richard. Some people said Christopher Lee, he's got a huge, well, he did have a huge occult library. But I saw Christopher getting interviewed a couple of years before he died, and he said this, you know, the way he used to speak, but he used to go very, very serious. This rumour going round that I've got a huge library of occult books. Not true. I think I've only got about 5. They were from the man himself. Yeah, so he said, I don't know where they got that from. That I've got a huge library of occult books. Not true. Yeah, so there you go. Yeah. Sorry, guys, the comments are just up a bit. Just bear with me. Right. Chestnut Step 7 is saying, forget the carry-ons, cancel crap like Naked Attraction. I haven't seen that one. Mel's saying, totally agree about the woke movements, yeah. It's ridiculous when they're trying to take away our old classic comedies. I know, yeah. Wouldn't you think they'd have better bloody things to do at the time than depriving people of, you know, long treasured things, you know, what people have liked and enjoyed for years and years. I don't know where these cretins have come from. They just seem to have just crawled out of the woodwork all of a sudden. Ban this, ban that. Oh, you can't say this, you can't say that. Bugger off. Leave us alone. That's what I say. They're the bloody nuisances, they really are, and they're trying to impact on every aspect of our lives, aren't they? You know, oh, let's come a day when they implode. You know, like I hope the what's the name will implode on itself. All this streaming, let's hope the woke movement implodes and it just bursts and we don't hear any more about it. It's bloody ridiculous the way what they're doing now to our pleasures. Jeff saying Chris was great in the House of Drip Blood. Oh, he was. Yeah, he definitely was. He had that. His daughter, the mother was a witch, wasn't she? Yeah. Oh, that's great. That. Yeah. One of my favourite horror films. Also, John Pertwee. Yeah. Yeah. The Vampire Cloak and Denholm Elliott. Great cast all around. Oh yeah, I love that one, Jeff. Yeah. I've got the Blu-ray of that, the special edition. I think it's second size in my Blu-ray collection. I love the House of Drip Blood. Yeah, and the Denholm Elliott one where his character comes to life. You know, the serial killer, yeah, and of course, as you rightly said, John Pertwee with the Vampire Cloak, yeah. What's the name's good in that? Playing the detective, John Bennett. I first saw him in a series called Honey Lane. I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember that. It was like a kind of a Coronation Street, but it was centred on a market. I think it was in Manchester. And John Bennett was one of the main characters in that, Honey Lane. It wasn't on very long. So if you Google it, you'll find out more about it. But oh yeah, he's a good actor, John Bennett, and the way he played that cynical copper, he didn't believe it, did he? You know, he just didn't believe it. He went to the house himself, and of course we all know what happened, don't we? Yeah. The lovely Joanna Dunham was in that as well. She played Denholm Elliott's wife, yeah. Richard Brown, did you see Christopher in Gremlins 2? I've seen it once, years ago. I don't remember too much about it, Richard. Yeah, I'm not really a big fan of the Gremlins, to be honest with you. They're alright, but I wouldn't rave over them. Tony Crosby saying, I hear they're trying to cancel Disney's... Oh, I don't believe it. They're not going to cancel Disney's Snow White, are they? What the bloody hell's wrong with them? Have they lost their bloody minds? I hear they're trying to cancel Disney's Snow White as the kiss to resurrect there is seen to be with... Oh, that's bloody ridiculous, that. Without consent, they're going to be cancelling everybody. They're going to be cancelling human beings next. Oh, it's ridiculous. Why doesn't somebody in government launch a campaign to wipe all this madness out? Because there seems to be these loonies, they seem to be sprouting up everywhere, don't they? These woke fanatics and that. Oh, they're bloody nuts, they really are. If I was a boss, I tell you, if I was the boss of a company and I had just one woke member sympathetic to woke, he'd be sacked on the spot. Yeah, I wouldn't have anything like that in my company. You know, bloody nutcases like that they ban the bloody air that you breathe if they could then. But it does, you know, guys, it really infuriates me. Ban this, ban that, bloody harmless things. What's done nobody any harm? Stupid. I could use a much stronger word, but as you know, I don't approve of swearing on YouTube, you know, especially not my channel. So you can imagine what the word I would use to describe them. Right, back to business. KW, sad to hear of the passing of Raquel Welch. I know, I was shocked. When one of my YouTube friends broke the news to me yesterday. Yeah, I like Raquel Welch, yeah. Have you seen Hanny Calder starring Christopher Lee? I've seen it many, many years ago. Raquel Welch was in it, wasn't she? I don't remember too much about it, to be honest with you. So, wasn't she in Fathom as well, Raquel Welch, with Frank Sinatra? Chestnut Step 7, the DVD up to The Devil a Daughter I got. Yeah, I had the DVD, but I upgraded to the Studio Canal Blu-ray, and a lovely picture quality. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, just a shame about that ending. Yeah, very, very disappointing ending. I know this is a shot in the dark, but have any of you guys ever met Christopher Lee on here? Indeed, have you ever met any horror star? Yeah, I'd love to hear your experiences, you know. Yeah, please, tell me all about it, yeah. Dr. Impossible. You can get an airport Blu-ray pack from Final Cut, Alan. Concord 80 is top dollar, right? Tell you what's a good company, guys, to buy Blu-rays from, and indeed DVDs. Film Treasures. I bought a couple of movies from them, and yeah, they're fantastic. Yeah, quick delivery as well. Yeah, I got one. I've ordered the two Baby Upsy movies. These new horror movies have come out about a monster baby. And have you guys heard of them? Baby Oopsie, they're called. Well, I got the first Baby Oopsie today from Amazon, but I've ordered Baby Oopsie 2 from Film Treasure, so I hope to get that in a couple of days' time. So once I've watched them, once I've watched the two baby oopsies, I'll do a full-length review. But yeah, they look fun. They look good fun movies and that, you know. Yeah, about this monster baby and that, you know, goes on the rampage. Yeah, so watch out for them. Hope they're better than that dreadful It's Alive franchise. That was a terrible franchise. That It's Alive. Chestnut Step 7 is saying, yes, I agree. The Devil Rides Out is great, yeah. That scene where you see the devil creep, yeah, I know. Yeah, it did me when I watched it as a kid, yeah. It was fantastic the way they done that, really was. Great. The Grey Man's here. You okay, Grey Man? Hey all, nice to have you along. Thanks for dropping by. Chestnut Step 7 creeped me out when young, yeah. Tony Crosby, I love Pete Walker's movies, me too. I'm a huge Pete Walker fan, especially Frightmare, yeah. But never seen The House of the Long Shadows. Is it worth buying? The House of the Long Shadows, primarily because of that ending, which I won't expand on too much in case you haven't seen it. The House of the Long Shadows are kind of a Marmite movie. You either like it or you either loathe it. I either like it or loathe it. I liked it. Yeah, but again, the ending, you got to sort of like it's one of those endings, but I won't reveal what happens. It's a twist. It's a twist ending, but I won't reveal the ending in case you haven't seen it. But yeah, I would recommend it. It's got all the horror icons in, you know, Lee Cushing, Price, you know, they're all there. Even Sheila Keith makes an appearance. Yeah, great movie. Richard Brown saying yes. Zammy Adams, Peter Cushing was great in The Beast Must Die, a great Amicus film. That's the one with the werewolf, isn't it? Where they have to guess the werewolf, and they have an intermission, don't they? Yeah, not bad, not a bad movie, not one of my favourites, but it's not bad. It's not bad. What I didn't like about it, I didn't like the part where it went to Calvin Lockhart's character. You know, the main protagonist. He was trying to track down the werewolf, wasn't he? He had to guess who the werewolf was, and he showed him it. There was some parts were a bit drawn out, I thought, where he was on the TV monitors and that, you know, and that sort of thing and that. Yeah, I thought that was a bit drawn out, to tell you the truth. Dr. Impossible saying Airport 1975 had Linda Blair. Yeah. Airport 75, yeah. And Airport 77 had Lee Grant, right? Yeah, as I say, it's years since I saw those movies, so I couldn't tell you, you know, what happened in them. Jeff's saying, yeah, an underrated film, That Beast Must Die, yeah. Indicator, they had a good release of that, didn't they, a couple of years ago? Chestnut Step 7, like this part on the Skull, yeah. There's a great movie, The Skull, yeah. Amicus, fantastic, yeah. That creeped me out when I watched that as a kid, yeah, definitely. The Skull of the Marquis de Sade, wasn't it? Dr. Impossible saying Christopher Lee's mother was a countess. Indeed, she was. He had royal blood in him. And Lee is a descendant of Charlemagne. He also was related to Ian Fleming. That's right. Correct. He was, yeah. Chestnut Step 7. I got Blu-ray House of Drip Blood recently. Great film. It is. I love the House of Drip Blood. I think that's one of the greatest... I think that's one of the greatest horror anthology movies that's ever been made. I love The House of Drip Blood. I watched it many, many times. Just like the other Amicus movies, like Tales from the Crypt, Amicus, Vaults of Horror, they're all Amicus greats, you know. And of course, Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, going back to the 1960s. Richard Brown saying, do you remember Christopher Lee cameo in Deathline as the man from Murder Street? He was barely in it, wasn't he? He had the bowler hat on, didn't he? Yeah, and he was barely in that. Yeah, a couple of minutes and that was it. Yeah, yeah. Pissy that, like, you know. He made easy money that day, didn't he? Yeah. Right, guys, I'm just going to take a short pause for a moment from chat. I'm just going to get the books over now and just show you, just talk a little bit about them. So first, I'm going to show you this one. The Christopher Lee Film Encyclopedia. And there's the back, guys. I won't read too much about it, but this is, says, in a career that spanned 8 decades, Christopher Lee appeared in more than 200 roles for film and television. Though he's best known for his portrayal of Dracula in the films of the 1950s, 60s and 70s, as well as his appearances in Lord of the Rings. He also appeared in many other films, including The Three Musketeers. So this is basically, goes through all his movies and his appearances, cast and crew information, synopsises, critical evaluation, newspaper and magazine reviews, and DVD availability. Yeah, so yeah, appendixes in this volume include discussions of least significant work in radio and television as well. Yeah, so there you go. Everything what a Christopher Lee fan could possibly want. There's not many pictures in it, guys. It's mostly like a reference tone, really, you know, about the films. Yeah, just basically gives you little bits and pieces about them and that, you know, and some comments by Christopher Lee. Here he is, and oh yeah, the Three Musketeers. Yeah, but fantastic book. When I saw this, I said to myself, I've just got to have that. Yeah, so yeah, as I say, guys, it's very, very short on. Well, there's hardly any photos in it, to be honest with you. So that's the first one anyway. That's the Christopher Lee Film Encyclopedia. Great book. And I've got this one as well, equally great book. And this is the Christopher Lee Filmography. There you go, guys. Great picture of on the front of the great man. And again, the career of Christopher Lee has stretched over half a century in every sort of film, yeah, from comedy to horror, and such diverse roles as The Man with the Golden Gun, Frankenstein's Monster, Fu Manchu, and Sherlock Holmes, yeah. So as I say, this is the work includes an afterword by Christopher Lee himself. Photographs from the actor's private collection are included, yeah. Yeah, he gives a critical analysis at the end, guys, of every movie, what he thinks of it and that, you know, very, very interesting. You know, he gives his thoughts on each movie, and this has got a whole lot more pictures than the other one has, you know. I love this book. Just the sort of book what you can dip into at will. Yeah, there you go. There he is with Peter Cushing. So as I say, these two books, if you're a Christopher Lee fan, I can't recommend them enough, you know. Fantastic. Go. Great pictures. Yeah, I love the way he comments at the end, you know, each movie gives his thoughts. Fantastic. Return from Witch Mountain. I haven't seen that one. So as I say, guys, if you like Christopher Lee, you know, highly recommend these two books, yeah. So that's the Christopher Lee Filmography and the Christopher Lee Film Encyclopedia. So there you go, yeah. Fantastic, yeah. Just the sort of books what you can pick up and, you know, desktop books what you can browse at your leisure, really, yeah. Fantastic. Right, back to the comments then, guys. Right, Jeff's saying to Chestnut 7, you're smart at picking up bargain films. It's always nice to get a bargain, isn't it? Dr. Impossible, Lee's background is interesting, though deep, yeah. He was on what's the name as well, wasn't he? I think it was around about 1979. He hosted Saturday Night Live in America. Yeah, oh, he's done all sorts of things, hasn't he, Christopher Lee? Yeah, fantastic. Man of many talents. Chestnut 7. Jeff Joffe, a lot of hunting for fun. Jeff Joffe, nice one. Chestnut 7. Graham Powell, I love the scene in The Man with the Golden Gun when Scaramanga says, "You and me, Mr. Bond, we are the same," and Bond replied, "That is a useful four-letter word and you're full of it." Yeah, classic lines. Dr. Impossible saying, probably my favourite Christopher Lee performance was The Private Lives of Sherlock Holmes, directed by a master filmmaker, Billy Wilder. Yeah. Zami Adams is saying, my only horror claim is that I live several streets down from Coleham Road, where Jenny Agutter's flat was filmed for An American Werewolf in London. It's in Earl's Court. Oh, right. I love Jenny Agutter. Yeah, she was great in that one, wasn't she? American Werewolf in London. Yeah. That's one of my all-time favourite horror comedies. That American Werewolf in London, alongside Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. Yeah. Oh yeah, I love Jenny Agutter. Fantastic actress. KW is saying, did you get Blood of the Vampire Blu-ray yet? It's a Hammer rip-off. I like it a lot. I haven't got it yet, no. It's a bit expensive at the moment. Yeah, it's I think it's HMV. I think it's $17.99. So I'll wait till it comes down a bit in price. Alternatively, I might be able to get it cheap on on Amazon and eBay. But I do intend to get that Blood of the Vampire. Jeff's saying, Alan, have you seen Chris and Dracula and Son made in '76? I've got that in my Eurocrypt Christopher Lee Volume 2. So I'm looking forward to that. I've never seen it. I haven't, but it sounds a bit strange. Oh, right, yeah. Oh, well, I'll see how it goes, see what it's like. Graham Powell, Dr. Impossible. Sorry, guys, the comments are going a bit weird. Graham Powell, Dr. Impossible, he was minus his hairpiece and that. Scrolling up, guys, just bear with me. Chestnut 7 is saying Christopher as the monster in Curse of Frankenstein, one of my favourites. Yeah, absolute classic, that Curse of Frankenstein. I wholeheartedly agree with you. Yeah, that one and Dracula, they really cemented Hammer's role in a British horror film making, didn't he? Those two classics, they went from strength to strength once they came out. Yeah, all the sequels and that of both Frankenstein and Dracula. And I love all of them. There's not one single bad sequel. You know, there's not many franchises, guys, you can say that about, is there? I love all those sequels to Hammer's Frankenstein. I love all those sequels to Hammer's Dracula. Yeah, fantastic, yeah. I've watched them countless times and I never get tired of them. The stories were that good, the actors were that good, and the lovely colour, you know, and of course all the beautiful girls as well, you know, what Hammer were noted for. But, oh yeah, and two stalwarts of British horror cinema, Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, of course. I used to love Michael Ripper as well. He was in nearly every Hammer movie, wasn't he, Michael Ripper? Yeah, he either played a barman, a copper, or a tramp. Yeah, oh, he's great, Michael Ripper. Yeah, a real Hammer stalwart. Yeah, fantastic. I hope Scream Factory release more Hammer Blu-rays, you know, special editions, because I've got a couple of them there. So I'll just keep my fingers crossed they release more, especially the Dracula ones with piles of extras, because they've been very, very much neglected. The Hammer Frankenstein and the Hammer Dracula movies in terms of special features. So yeah, so here's hoping that Scream Factory do release more of them. They're fantastic. They do a great job at those special editions. Jeff saying to Graham Powell, yes, Chris wore hair pieces, but they were good ones. Yeah, the famous widow's peak of Dracula, which I always thought it was his real hair. It looked that realistic, didn't it? Top of the range, yeah, definitely. Oh, he was noted for his widow's peak, wasn't he, Dracula? KW is saying the airport movies are all great. I love The Skull, one of my favourite films. Yeah, it's a great one, The Skull. Yeah, Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, The Skull of the Marquis de Sade. Brian's saying, I've met Carolyn Munro, Lance Henriksen and Robert Englund at Glasgow conventions. They were all really nice, yeah. Oh, especially Carol Munro, she's a lovely lady, yeah. I saw her in Liverpool a couple of years ago at the HorrorCon by the River Mersey. Yeah, I unfortunately didn't get a chance to chat to her, but I did see her, you know, walking around the convention and that, and signing, people queuing up, you know, for her autograph. Lovely lady, yeah. She made fantastic movies, you know. Great actress. Lance Henriksen as well, he's made a lot of movies, yeah. Robert Englund, of course, played Freddy Krueger. But oh yeah, they do put in appearances, guys, those three actors quite frequently at horror movie conventions. So yeah, I'd certainly second your sentiments there, Brian. Dr. Impossible, Graham, yes. Cinema Chaos is saying, hey Alan, you okay? Christopher Lee and The Wicker Man and Lord of the Rings are a couple of my favourites. So I love The Wicker Man, as I said before, but unfortunately I'm not a great fan of Lord of the Rings. I've tried to get into it quite a few times, and each time I've just lost interest, you know, about near halfway through to the story. But yeah, I understand how big a fan following Lord of the Rings commands, but yeah, just haven't been able to get into it. Just like Harry Potter, can't get into any of them, but The Wicker Man, oh, top class. Love that movie. Tony Crosby is saying, apart from the Dracula movies, what is your favourite film starring Lee? Well, let's say The Wicker Man. I would say there's so many. I couldn't pinpoint one. You know, The House That Dripped Blood. I like him in Scaramanga, The Man with the Golden Gun. He's always made loads of movies, hasn't he? I liked him in The Mummy, when he played Chorus. I liked him in that. Rasputin, that's another good one. Yeah, Hammer. Rasputin, just so many. So, yeah, and I could sit here all night, you know, picking Christopher Lee movies out of the air and that, and saying he was great in that, he's great in this, he was great in that. He made so many fantastic movies, didn't he? You know, he had a very, very long and distinguished career, and he's an absolute legend. You know, he really is, yeah. So, but of course, my number one Christopher Lee role, well, it goes without saying, is Count Dracula. But yeah, I loved him in those movies, say The Wicker Man, The Man with the Golden Gun, you know, fantastic. I like that. I'd say another favourite Christopher Lee movie, I, Monster, where he played like Mr. Hyde, only they weren't called Jekyll and Hyde, they were called Marlowe and Blake. Any fans of that here? I think that was an Amicus movie, I, Monster. That's a great one. If you haven't seen, if you like your Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde movies, check that one out. I've got the Blu-ray of that. It's a great one, yeah. Indicator Blu-ray. Richard Brown's saying he was in a couple of Jess Franco films, one of which he saw advertised outside a sex film cinema in Europe. Oh, Mrs. Yeah, he made one. Was it in Italy? Called The Whip and the Body. Yeah, not really what you think it. Not really what you might think it is. But yeah, I had that a couple of years ago on Blu-ray. I didn't care for it. It was very, very slow. The Whip and the Body. Yeah. So yeah, not a great not a great one of Christopher's. Zami Adams is saying Hammer House is still there on Wardour Street in Soho. I always remember being amazed when I first seen the building. Right. Chestnut 7, very nice books on. Oh, thanks very much. Yeah, I made up with them. Yeah, there's one book I'm after. It's very, very rare now. It's written by Jonathan Rigby, who met Christopher Lee a few times, and a guy who certainly knows his stuff when it comes to horror. Yeah, is it the Christopher Lee His Life and Films? But it's a lovely volume, but it goes for ridiculous prices now. The last time I saw one, I think it was Amazon. It was £300. Lovely book. So you never know, it might be re-released at some point. So yeah, lovely book, but so pricey and so rare. The Grey Man's saying, I have Lee's heavy metal album. Oh, do you? Yeah, he made a heavy metal album, didn't he? Yeah. I'd say a man of many talents. I seem to remember, do you remember that series Stars on Sunday, guys? It used to be on in the 70s. I'm sure he made a couple of appearances on there, Christopher Lee, singing a hymn, you know, like an opera style. Yeah. Tony Crosby, his version of My Way is fantastic. I haven't heard that one, My Way. Oh, I'll have to check that one out. Yeah, Frank Sinatra's My Way. Very interesting. KW Blood of the Vampire is about £16 on Amazon. It's quite expensive. Yeah. I'll wait till it comes down a notch more. You know, because some of the prices what they're charging now with these movies is just ridiculous. In my opinion. That's a good Christopher Lee movie, guys. It's long overdue for a British Blu-ray release. The Creeping Flesh. He made that with Peter Cushing. I think it was about 1972. And I know there's been a couple of American releases of it. It's like paired with another movie. But I would love to see Arrow pick that up, or another British company, Indicator, and give it the Blu-ray release it richly deserves. So yeah. So if any bosses of the boutique labels are watching this video and looking for new ideas for new films, The Creeping Flesh might be a good option. Yeah, I'd love to see a UK release of that. It's a great movie, that, The Creeping Flesh. Very unusual movie. Dr. Impossible saying, I was just trying to think of the actress related to Christopher Lee. Just looked through my unauthorised biography. It's Harriet May Walter. Oh, right. She's been in numerous TV and film roles. Oh, probably know her by sight, yeah. You learn something new every day, don't you? Real Asmir. Is Malcolm Winworth the one with the massive... We got a nutcase in the house. I'm not having this sort of thing on my channel, so clear off whoever you are. Moderators after ready. Not having filth on my channel. Right. Richard Brown. He's good as the Mummy. Probably the best Mummy film. Yeah, definitely. I didn't like the other Hammer Hammer Mummy movies. What they churned out later on. I didn't like them at all. The Mummy Shroud. Yeah, I didn't like them at all. KW. Christopher Lee has done a lot. Oh, you should say that again in his long career. Yeah, he's done a hell of a lot of work, hasn't he? Yeah, all sorts of roles and guest appearances and what have you. In these going down, everyone says Satanic Rites of Dracula is horrible. I think it's great. Yeah, I like Satanic Rites of Dracula. My only issue with it, guys, is the at some parts they're very reminiscent of like a spy espionage movie, you know, like James Bond. In fact, some people have referred to that as a Dracula meets James Bond movie. But having said that, I do it, despite its flaws, you know, particularly the ending where Dracula, he just walks through a hawthorn bush when he could easily just walk around it. I still think it's a fun ride, yeah, and it's good to see Dracula. Although it wasn't, Christopher Lee wouldn't agree with me. It was good to see Dracula in a modern setting, you know, for a change. We'd had in all those films, hadn't we? Was in the Victorian days, but then he moved them into modern times, didn't he? With the first one, Dracula AD 1972, which is my favourite of the two modern Dracula films, actually. And then a year later, the Satanic Rites of Dracula, which is a swan song, yeah. But oh yeah, I do like Satanic Rites of Dracula, despite its faults. You know, they're still good movies, yeah. I've got them all on Blu-ray. I love the opening to that as well, the Satanic Rites of Dracula, which shows you, like, I think it's London, and you've got like Dracula, like a statue of Dracula, and he's like that, and he's sort of like hoovering over the town like a menacing shadow, and you've got this dramatic musical score. Oh yeah, that's got a great opening. That as another one of my favourite Dracula openings, guys, is the the opening to Dracula's Risen from the Grave, where you get like a psychedelic picture, like it's like a dark blue background, but you've got like all crimson, like spots of blood and that, and it's sort of like fade, and then you get all the letters and that. That's a great opening. That the opening to it, you can actually get it on YouTube if you type in the theme, the opening theme to Dracula's Risen from the Grave. Oh yeah, it really evokes an air of menace and horror. You know, that's a great one. And I love the opening theme to the first Dracula movie, is the first Christopher Lee Dracula movie as well. Really pounding, menacing music. You know, yeah. Oh yeah, Hammer. They did some great tunes, you know, musical scores to accompany their the horror movies. But yeah, love them. Chestnut77 is saying, I read when Christopher screamed out when shot in Curse of Frankenstein, it was because the blood got in his eye and stung him. I think I've heard that. Yeah. I've also heard a story about the red contact lenses. He used to hurt his eyes when he left them in too long. Yeah, very, very irritating to his eyes, those red contact lenses. But boy, didn't he make him look ferocious as Dracula, guys. Oh, terrified the life out of me when I first saw him, when his eyes went red. You know, a complete upscale from Bela Lugosi, who seems pretty tame now compared to Christopher Lee. You know, but Christopher Lee was a revelation when I first saw him as Dracula. I've said it many times in me videos. I'm going to say it again. When I first saw Dracula as a kid, that first Dracula movie in 1958, it scared the living daylights out of me. It really did. My mum used to say to me, as regards subsequent Draculas that were shown on the telly, she used to say to me, I don't know, she said, you've been looking forward all night to Christopher Lee coming on as Dracula. What do you do when he comes on? You put your hand over your face at the scary part. Yeah, but I can't help it. It's just he looked so scary when his eyes went red and his fangs came out. You know, he hissed and that. Really scary. Of course, it's nothing to me now, being an adult and that. I've watched them many, many times. But You know, he still packs a powerful punch, even though not as frightening as when you watch him as a kid. He still packs a powerful punch as Count Dracula, the greatest Dracula ever, definitely in my opinion. Nobody's come close to him. Take Dracula off, no one. Jeff Joffe, love Chris's line in the skull when Peter Cushing is questioning whether the skull is genuine or not, and Chris replies, "It's genuine, all right. You stole it from me." Yeah, I know what you mean. Some cracking lines. Tony Crosby, I love Satanic Rites and Dracula AD 1972. I do as well, yeah. My favourites being, as I said before, of the two, Dracula AD 1972. A lot of people criticise that movie, but they say things like, well, what they should have done with him being transported into modern times, they should have made him like a dandy about town. They should have made him go around all the nightclubs and that, you know, stalking his prey, his female prey, you know, prowling around the streets of London, you know, and going to all the nightclubs and that, which, on reflection, I suppose it might have made a better story, but I still like the story what they stuck with, where he's in the old church and that, you know, and me also, one of my old school friends from the 70s, he was absolutely mad on Christopher Lee. And you talk about me being mad on Christopher Lee as Dracula. This guy was an absolute fanatic on him. And he would always talk about Dracula in the school playground, you know. And when I used to bump into him going back to school at the dinner hour, he lived up the road from me. We used to go back to school together. His first topic was Dracula. Did you see Christopher Lee in Taste of Blood of Dracula? Did you see Christopher Lee in The Scars of Dracula? And he was absolute fanatic on Dracula. Anyway, he made a joke to me once. I'd never seen Dracula AD 1972, and he said the only thing with that film, Alan, he said Dracula, he's too scared. He's too scared to venture out of the old church in case he gets knocked over by a bus. And of course, with me being a little lad, I believed him and that. You know, I thought, well, but of course, when I watched the movie, that wasn't the case. He just kept him in the church. But I believed him when he said Dracula. You know, I thought, well, that's odd, isn't it? That's making Dracula a laughingstock. This was at the time. This was the early 1970s. I'm going back to, and but this lad, my old school friend, he had a way of saying things what you believed. And when he said the only problem with Dracula AD is Dracula's too scared to go out because he's scared of getting knocked over by a bus. So there you go, yeah. But yeah, fantastic movies, they really are. Right, Sammy Adams is saying, Carolyn Munro is brilliant. Yeah, I'd certainly second that. I loved her in Maniac. That's a great one, that, isn't it, Maniac? I've got that on Blu-ray, 88 films and that. Yeah, it's a great movie, that. Yeah, very dark, gritty movie. I liked it in Don't Open Till Christmas as well. Oh, she's made loads of movies, hasn't she, Carolyn Munro? Very, very versatile actress. Been in the Bond films as well, hasn't she? And the Land That Time Forgot. Jeff Joffe, yeah, a really good modern Dracula film, that. Satanic Rites, really good, yeah. I love the part at the end where he's going to release the pestilence, isn't he? You know, and destroy not only the world but himself. And then, of course, Van Helsing, he tries to make, fruitless though it is, he tries to make Dracula series, and doesn't he? And he says, think what you're doing, Count Dracula. If you destroy everybody, you're going to have nobody to feed on, basically. You know, what could you possibly gain? You know, oh yeah, I love that one. Yeah, but as I say, I do slightly prefer the first one, Dracula AD 1972. I love the opening of that as well, because it opens up in 1872, where you've got the coach. You know, it's running through. I think it's Hyde Park, and Dracula and Van Helsing, played by Peter Cushing, they're engaged in a fight to the death, aren't they? And they're fighting on the coach and that, and the coach turns over. They both fall off the coach, and you know, they fall to the ground, and the coach, like, and you see the wheels spinning, and then real scary part in that, you hear the moan and that, get Dracula moaning and that, you know, and next minute he comes slowly around the coach, doesn't his face and that. Oh, that scared me when I watched that as a kid, yeah. And he's impaled by the wheel, isn't he? The coach wheel, it's gone right through his body. Well, of course, you know, they both die in that encounter, don't they? Poor old Van Helsing dies after he's administered the coup de grace, shall we say, to Dracula by pressing the wood further into his chest, and then he dies as well. Van Helsing then comes up to date. Then it's a great shot, isn't it? It goes up to the sky, you see the airplane, don't you? Saying you're in modern times. Oh, absolute magic, yeah. They were masters of the craft hammer, They were making those movies. They really were. They knew how to. They knew how to entertain horror fans, and they didn't have to use jump scares and stupid teenagers. What you didn't give two bleeps about. Yeah. Chestnut Seb 7 is saying, do you know, Alan, when and where the next convention is? I'd love to go to one before they're all gone. I don't, to be honest. I'd love to see one in Liverpool, you know. But at the moment, there's no mention of it. I've been doing another horror con in Liverpool, although they have done the Comic Cons. You know, as I remember a couple of years ago, Starsky and Hutch came to them, Comic Con or Sci-Fi Con, whatever they're called. You do get the odd horror star appearing at them. But but no mention at all yet of they're all preoccupied with the Eurovision Song Contest now, aren't they? Getting held in Liverpool, so that's top of the agenda in terms of Liverpool events. Yeah, so but I'd love to see a new a new horror con in Liverpool. I don't know if they've got one in Manchester in October, because I know they've had a few in Manchester. Yeah, I'll have to find out more about that, because I know David Prowse was at one a couple of years ago. You know David Prowse, he was in Star Wars. I think he played Darth Vader, didn't he? And he was in a couple of the Hammer Frankenstein movies, yeah. But he was at one in Manchester, yeah. But I'll have to find out more about that. I love the horror cons. It's great seeing you know, the stars what you've watched on your TV and that, and they watched on Blu-ray and DVD for years. You actually see them in person, yeah. Right, KW saying, do you like Scream and Scream again, Alan? Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Elva Massey, Circus of Fear. Yeah, that's not a bad one with Christopher Lee in. Yeah, Circus of Fear. Jeff Joffrey, haha, I had to watch Scream and Scream again several times before I knew what it was about. It's jumbled up but fun when you know what's going on. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Chestnut Seb 7 is saying, Taste the Blood of Dracula is one I watch repeatedly. The first, the second, the third. Oh, the way he says that, real sepulchral tone, doesn't he? You know, real deadpan. Yeah, yeah, fantastic. Yeah. Again, I know the movie's got its critics and that, you know, because a lot of people have said, like, well, all right then, if Dracula's taking his revenge, shouldn't he be grateful? Shouldn't be grateful to them for, you know, for reviving him, you know, because he says they kill my servant, they must be destroyed. He should be really thanking them, really, shouldn't he, for bringing him bringing him back to life. But I suppose like that's just one of those plot stories. Just sort of like just accept, you just let it go over your head, don't you? It doesn't detract from the fun elements of the movie, as far as I'm concerned. You know, Ralph Bates was really on the money, playing the sinister Lord Courtly. Beautifully shot movie, great acting, and again Christopher Lee, fantastic as Count Dracula. And he was actually going to be in that. I don't know if you guys know the story. They were going to groom Ralph Bates to be the new Dracula, but then when he heard, I think the story goes, from what I heard, he sold it to an American, was it Warner Brothers, and he wanted Christopher Lee to play Dracula. They didn't want Ralph Bates to be the new Dracula, so they had to Hammer had to get on the phone to Christopher Lee and saying, look, you know, you've got to be in this movie. And Christopher Lee said, I don't have to be in the movie, I don't want to be in the movie. But then he said, like, well, we've gone into too late now, we've gone and sold it, and you know, if you don't appear in it, like, you know, and Christopher Lee, he sort of like succumbed, because he said, I had to do it. He said, just think of all the people I would have put out of work if I hadn't have done that movie. Yeah, he's told that story a few times, so yeah, I'm very glad he did, actually, because I don't think I'd have been too pleased about another character getting groomed for it. As much as I love Ralph Bates, I think he's a great actor, I wouldn't have been too pleased to see Christopher Lee not playing Dracula anymore, so I'm very glad he did return for a couple more Dracula movies, because he returned in The Scars of Dracula about 12 months later, didn't he? And then, of course, we have the modern Draculas then, the two modern Draculas, Dracula AD 1972, and then the Satanic Rites of Dracula. So yeah, I'm very, very glad he did you know, accept the role as Dracula in Taste the Blood of Dracula. Yeah, oh, that's a great one, that Taste the Blood of Dracula. I love the setting as well. He comes to England, doesn't he? You know, the country setting and that, and the old church and that, where he's revived and that, and Ralph Bates, the sinister Lord Courtly, he's really on the money in that role, Ralph Bates, and of course the three men, you know, the sort of like they want a bit of excitement in their lives, don't they? In that, you know, and they encounter this Lord Courtly character, and he says, "Would you be willing to sell your soul to the devil?" And of course, they're a bit reluctant at first, and then they agree in that, so they go along to Roy Kinnear. Roy Kinnear, he plays the dealer who's got Dracula's items and that, you know, and he sells them as blood. His blood's in like a vial, and all powder, and it's cloak and that. At first, he said it's not for sale, but then he succumbs and that, you know. So of course, he sells Dracula's items to the three businessmen and that, and of course, all hell breaks loose. Yeah, oh yeah, I love Taste of Blood of Dracula. Watched it many times. I love the beginning as well, with Roy Kinnear, when he's in the coach and he gets thrown out the coach, doesn't he? And he's in the forest and that. It's in the dead of night, and he hears these blood curdling screams, and it's Dracula, isn't it, getting impaled from the previous movie. Dracula's risen from the grave. It's Dracula screaming. Oh, that was real. When I watched that as a kid, that really put the willies up me. You know, Dracula screaming in agony, and he's running, and he gets he gets all windy, doesn't he, Roy Kinnear? He's running through the darkened woods, and he falls down. It's like little like hill, and then he sees Dracula writhing on the cross, and that he's just been pushed off the cliff by Barry Andrews, and Dracula, the crucifix has gone right through Dracula's body, and it's just coming out of his chest like that, and he's writhing round, and that all blood coming out of his eyes and his mouth and that. So funny story there, guys, because you know when Lee filmed that role, the Hammer got an award, and I think it was it the Queen? Somebody of a dignitary was walking around the Hammer Studios, and that when he saw Christopher Lee writhing, all the blood over his face, he sort of like raised their eyebrows and that. But oh yeah, they got the award, yeah, Hammer, yeah, but yeah, fantastic movie, yeah. Nobody can play Count Dracula like Christopher Lee. Edward's saying, what's your favourite Christopher Lee performance? Oh, there are many, too numerous to mention, not just horror, but as I say, Scaramanga, the man with the golden gun, as I say, the Mummy, when he played the creature in The Curse of Frankenstein, yeah. He made a pirate movie as well for Hammer, didn't he? The Pirates of Blood River, which I must admit, I'm not really a great fan of the pirate movies, yeah. But the Mummy, Lord Summer Island, The Wicker Man, Scaramanga, as I say, of course Dracula, but yeah, there's so many, Tony's saying he was also good in the 60 TV series, The Avengers, yeah. He often made guest appearances, didn't he? Another 60s TV series. Oh, I just remembered he was also in Space 1999. Oh, was he really? Yeah. I never watched that, Space 1999. But yeah, he's made a lot of cameos, hasn't he? Some of the TV, as has Peter Cushing, some of the TV series. Well, the blonde girl, Veronica Carlson, my favourite Hammer actress, she co-starred with Christopher in Dracula's Risen from the Grave, and he was very good to her, Christopher Lee. She said, she had nothing but praise for him, and of course Peter Cushing later on. But yeah, he posed for her. She done his portrait and that, and she's a great artist as well, Veronica Carlson. And he was quite happy to sit there and pose for her while she drew his portraits, yeah. And he's very, very helpful with her, when she was laying on the lines and that, because he said I'll give you the cue. For your eyeline and that, which way to look and that, and he gave her a sign and that, so she'd look, her expression would be spot on when she saw Dracula. Oh yeah, he helped her a lot. Christopher Lee, Veronica Carlson, yeah, sadly no longer with us. Lovely lady, yeah, and yeah, she's appeared in many horror conventions as well. Yeah, my number one Hammer crush, Veronica Carlson. Richard Brown saying, did he ever do Morecambe and Wise? I don't think Christopher Lee done Morecambe and Wise. I don't think he did, but I know Peter Cushing did. He was always after his money. I want my money. I want my money. I don't know if he ever got paid or not. Yeah, he'd pop up. Wouldn't he, Peter Cushing? I want my money, and Morecambe and Wise. He sort of put him off, didn't he? Yeah, but I don't think Christopher Lee. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I don't think Christopher Lee appeared at Morecambe and Wise. No. I'd say he was on Saturday Night Live in America. I think it was around about 1979. Yeah, was he in the Muppets at one stage, Christopher Lee? Anybody enlighten me on that? I'm not too sure actually if he was in the Muppets. Yeah, anybody knows, guys? Let me know. Chestnut 7 Hammer. The Elstree years costs a bomb too. It does. Yeah, definitely. Dr. Impossible saying the rank film Nothing But the Night. That's a good one. That was shockingly bad as a film with Liam Cushing. I quite liked that one. Diana Dawes was in it, wasn't she? Right, Zami Adams is saying, my favourite Mario Bava film is Rabid Dogs, 1974. What a sleazy, great film with surprising ending. Have you seen it, Alan? Rabid Dogs? I don't think I have, you know. Don't think I've seen that one, Rabid Dogs. No, I have to check that one out. Richard Brown, Nothing But the Night is fantastic. Indeed it is. Yeah, great movie. KW, oh, The Creeping Flesh is excellent. Yeah, yeah. As I say, you know, you never know. Arrow or Indicator might give it the Blu-ray release it richly deserves. Fingers crossed. Graham Powell, he had a small part in Scott of the Antarctic. Yeah, he did. Yeah, that was only on that. Was it last week or the week before? It was on recently. Yeah, it was on the daytime. Yeah. Chestnut 7 is saying, The Creeping Flesh, that creature creeped me good. Yeah, good film. Yeah, very good film. Jeff Joffe, good twist at the end of The Creeping Flesh. Yeah, very underrated horror movie, that, The Creeping Flesh. Tony Crosby saying to Richard Brown, I don't know, but I know Peter Cushing was on Morecambe and Wise. Yeah, he was. He was always wanting his money. They never paid him his money. Campaigning, he hadn't been paid for his appearance. That's right. Yeah, yeah. They never. I don't think they ever paid him. You know, no. KW, Satanic Rites is a good film. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. With me being an author, guys, so one of my dreams, with me being a great fan of Christopher Lee, one of my dreams is to one day write another Dracula story with the lead Dracula in modern times, basically carrying on into the world of social media. I'd love to do that, you know. Yeah, write a Dracula story, a whole new Dracula story, where he's resurrected after the end of the Satanic Rites of Dracula, but he's in the modern age, you know, social media. It'd be interesting to see what stories he could come up with. For instance, he could have, he could be like in a horror cult, an online horror cult, couldn't he, Dracula? Things like that, you know. So, excuse me, yeah, it's one of my ambitions one day, when I can find the time, to write a new Dracula story with the Dracula, what Christopher Lee would portray if he was alive, yeah. So I've got a couple of ideas in the pipe, you know, running around in my brain. It's just putting them all in order and that. But I'd love to do that. Yeah, very much like the Robert Laurie Dracula books of the 70s. I think I've shown you them when I first started doing my videos, yeah. But set, of course, in the modern age of social media. It'd be very interesting to see, you know, how Dracula'd fare in the social media. It most probably make a meal of all the wokes. Dr. Impossible, yeah, forgot the Witch Mountain films made by Disney, yeah. Danny Jukes, hi from Kent. You okay, Danny? Welcome to the fold. Richard Brown, Peter Cushing on Morecambe and Wise is fantastic. Yeah, yeah. I want my money. KW is saying, I like him in The Curse of the Crimson Altar, but I feel he was a bit underused. Yeah, good film, that. Curse of the Crimson Altar. Wasn't he in Christopher Lee, The Oblong Box with Vincent Price? I seem to remember watching that a few years ago. It wasn't one of my favourite Christopher Lee films, and there's not many Christopher Lee films I dislike, but that was one of the few that I did. I wasn't too keen on, The Oblong Box. I'm sure he was in that, or one similar. Chestnut 7 is saying, I must admit I wasn't that keen on Satanic Rites, but think AD 72 is good and got us. Yeah, as I say, what spoke Satanic Rites for me a little bit, it was very much like a James Bond, like a spy espionage movie, you know, with all the you know, the top dogs involved in the occult and that, you know, and at times it did feel like a James Bond movie, you know, with the motorbike riders and that, you know, and the gangs and that. And as I say, the dignitaries and that, yeah. But nevertheless, it's a pretty enjoyable movie. Christopher Lee makes it, doesn't he? You know. Jeff Joffrey, I got to go. Great chat. I'll watch the rest on the completed replay. Bye. Oh, thanks very much, Jeff, mate. Yeah, thanks for turning up. Yeah, and enjoy your weekend. Yeah, thanks very much. Nice talking to you again. Richard Brown, did you see Night at the Big Heat? I do. I seem to remember watching that a couple of years ago on the telly. I wasn't too keen on it. Yeah, anything to do with hot weather, I'm not too keen on, because I'm a winter person. I'm an awesome winter person. I don't understand some of these people that want summer all the time. Oh no, I couldn't stand that. I think I'd have to build a rocket ship and go up to the moon, to a cold planet. So I couldn't stand hot weather all the time like that. Yeah, anything to do with hot weather, not a fan of. But yeah, that movie, yeah, I wasn't too keen on that. But one movie I do like with hot in the title is Some Like It's Hot, with Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis and Marilyn Monroe. I love that one. I've got the 4K of that. Some Like It's Hot. Yeah, it's a great one, that. Love that one. Michael Addison, I can't believe that Christopher Lee used to take packs and packs of monkey calming pills on set to make his make his eyes bulge and tongue swell up to make him more frightening, apparently. Oh no, I'd never heard that. I think that's a bloody wild, old wives' tale, that. Christopher Lee used to take packs and packs of monkey calming pills on set to make his eyes bulge. No, that's old wives' tale, that. Chestnut 77, I think the best ending from the Dracula films was Dracula's Risen from the Grave, where he fell on the big cross. Yeah, I like the opening as well, where he gets revived. The priest, played by that guy, used to be in Hunter's Walk. He falls down, doesn't he? And he falls on the ice where Dracula's entombed. And quite conveniently, the part where Dracula's lips, the ice cracks where Dracula's lips is, and the blood trickles down and awakens him and that. Yeah. Oh yeah, I love Dracula's Risen from the Grave. Yeah. Fantastic. Watched it many, many times. Love it. Tony Crosby, I loved Hammer when I was a kid. The only source of Hammer we could get was the House of Hammer magazine. I used to buy that in the 70s, yeah. Reference books and those BBC Two double bills. Thankfully along came video recorders, yeah. I used to buy the House of Hammer, and it changed its name, didn't it, to the Halls of Horror, yeah. At some point I'm thinking about doing a video about all the horror magazines I grew up with, and that will be included, make no mistake, the House of Hammer magazine. I got my first copy in the May of 1976, that yellow copy with Christopher Lee on as Dracula. Yeah, and I bought it, right, I loved it from the very first issue, and I was a constant buyer. So yeah, that will feature very, very prominently in this video I'm planning to do about all the horror comics I grew up with as a kid. So watch out for that one. Graham Powell saying, Taste the Blood of Dracula was the first lead Dracula I saw on TV in the mid-70s. Like you, my brother and me couldn't last until the end. We ran upstairs to bed terrified, yeah. Oh, he was terrifying, Christopher Lee, watching him as a kid, yeah. Nobody had ever seen anything quite like him. And my mum said, like, when he first appeared on the cinema, when he, that very first Dracula film, he's standing on the top of the stairs. And I know when you seen the blood in his eyes and his fangs hissing like a demon, people were terrified. They crapped themselves, Yeah, talk about The Exorcist. He was the Exorcist of his day, his Dracula film, yeah. Oh, yeah, he really made an impression. As was evidenced when Hammer wanted him back again and again and again to do yet another Dracula movie, and I'm very, very glad they did, and I'm very glad Christopher Lee accepted. Yeah, he's really carved his spot, hasn't he, in horror movie history, Christopher Lee. And I just wish the great man was still here today, because he would be in demand, because he was that popular. He'd always be in demand to make new movies, whether it be horror, sci-fi, another kind of Lord of the Rings. Oh yeah. Very, very popular actor. Zami Adams, 26th of March is the next London Film Fair. Oh, right, I've always wanted to go to them. Brian Gilson is saying, Coventry Comic Con has a lot of the Hammer actors attending. Oh, right. Yeah, Comic Con, yeah. I say, I wish you'd hold one in Liverpool, Chestnut F7 is saying, Dave Prowse, the Green Cross Code man. Yeah, sadly he passed away. Yeah, he used to do the Green Cross Code adverts, didn't he, David Prowse? Yeah, oh, he's a great actor, David Prowse. Yeah, as I say, he played Darth Vader, didn't he, in Star Wars, and he played He played Frankenstein, called the Hammer films, yeah. Fantastic. The Horror of Frankenstein, yeah. And the last one with Cushing in, Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell, yeah. In these goings down, you guys in the UK have the best horror mag in the world. The Dark Side, yeah. Thumbs up to the Dark Side. It's a great one, that. Alan Bryce, the editor, he does a fantastic job at that magazine, yeah. It's consistently top notch, always with plenty of Hammer content. Yeah, it's great, the Dark Side. And you want to check out the Dark Side specials as well, because they publish a few specials, you know, like books and that, magazine books on a different topic and that, you know, like horror TV, giallos and that. I've got them all. I love them, yeah. Oh, yeah, I love the Dark Side, yeah. I can't wait for the next issue, actually. Yeah, I think it's out next week. Yeah, oh, yeah, I love the Dark Side, yeah. Huge fan. There's another horror magazine as well called Scream. It's okay, but it's not as good as the Dark Side, so I do get the Dark Side magazine regularly. Danny Dukes, Christopher Lee's voice just makes it as Dracula. I totally agree, Danny. And did you read the story about Dracula Prince of Darkness, where there's a bit of controversy about that, because if you remember, Lee doesn't say a word in that, in Dracula Prince of Darkness, but there's two versions of why he didn't. It's number one, Christopher Lee himself said, I just read the lines, he said, stupid lines like, I am the apocalypse, and Christopher Lee said, I'm not saying that, no way am I saying that. But then it appears that, was it Jimmy Sangster, he reckoned, I'm sure it was Jimmy Sangster, one of the Hammer bosses anyway. He claimed he never wrote the script, any lines for Dracula. So you don't know who to believe there. You don't know whether to believe Christopher Lee when he read the script, the lines, and he said, I'm not saying those words. Or Jimmy Sangster, whoever it was, and Hammer, who wrote the script, and said they argued that we didn't write any lines for Dracula. So who is to believe? But I love Dracula Prince of Darkness. He's even more sinister when he doesn't speak. Brian Gilson, if you could record an audio commentary for a Christopher Lee film on DVD, which one would you pick, Alan? Oh my days, that is a tough one, Brian. I would say Dracula Has Risen from the Grave, because I think that's the perfect Dracula film. Next to the first Dracula, it's got everything that it's got. Great characters. Christopher Lee really menacing as Dracula. The lovely Veronica Carlson. Barry Andrews plays a good hero, you know, and then you've got the priest as well. He's very good. Is it Rupert Davis plays the priest? Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. I think it would be that one. Yeah, Dracula Has Risen from the Grave, and I'd love to do a commentary on Taste the Blood of Dracula as well. That's a good one. Yeah. And talking of commentaries, guys, if you've got the Scream Factory edition of the Scars of Dracula, Christopher Lee comments on that, which he didn't. I had the Studio Canal of Dracula, Scars of Dracula. He didn't include that for some reason. So what I've done, I upgraded to the Scream Factory Scars of Dracula, and you get the commentary with Christopher Lee and a couple of other people as well, and then you get another commentary as well. It's a great one. So I've got the best of both worlds. So what I've done, I sold the Studio Canal Blu-ray and I kept the slipcover. So I put the slipcover over the Scream Factory Scars of Dracula. So I've got the best of both worlds. I've got a nice slipcover and I've got the Scream Factory Blu-ray of the Scars of Dracula. Yeah, I love that movie. Yeah, well, I love all the Christopher Lee Dracula movies, but you see a lot more of him in that, and he talks a bit more in that, doesn't he? Oh, and that scene where he stabs the girl to death on the bed. I think it's Anushka Hempel. The girl's in that series. What I've got is Zodiac. Oh yeah, he just pulls the curtains back and he stabs us to death with a dagger. And his servants as well, Clove, he brands us back, doesn't he? With a big sword. He puts the sword in the fire and he brands us back. Oh, he's a real demon in that, Christopher Lee. And it's also a reflection of Bram Stoker's scene where he crawls down, he scales the walls of his castle, Lee, like a giant lizard. He crawls down the walls of his castle. Now that was in the book. That was in the book, Bram Stoker, where Jonathan Harker, who's imprisoned in Dracula's castle, he describes the Count as walking down the walls of his castle like a giant lizard. Yeah, so that was what Christopher Lee wanted when he played Dracula. He wanted it to be more like Stoker's character, which we never really hit the mark, really, exactly how the Dracula novel was written, because for instance, the first movie, they couldn't include the part on the ship where Dracula slaughters all the crew and the captain, due to budgetary restraints. So basically, they had a storyline. They condensed the storyline to make and he sort of like the pacing and that, they sorted the pacing out. So they got what they thought would be an acceptable Dracula movie, and it was a good movie. But as I say, it would have been an even better movie if they'd included the part with the ship, where Dracula's on the ship. I think the ship was called the Demeter in the original novel. Like that's the TV series that was on a couple of Christmases ago, where he slaughters them all on the ship. That would have been awesome. That in a Christopher Lee movie, where Dracula, he slaughters all the crew, and the captain, when the ship goes to ground, the shore, the captain's tied to the wheel and that dead. That would have been an awesome scene. That. Zami Adams is saying, my favourite movie mag is Cinema Sewer, which is sadly just finished up after 25 years. Have you read it, Alan? No. Never even heard of it. Chestnut 7 is saying, no disrespect to Ralph Bates, he was a good Hammer guy, but Dracula is Christopher Lee. I totally agree. Yeah. As I said before, I'm glad Christopher Lee returned for Taste of Blood of Dracula, because I couldn't imagine a Dracula movie, a Hammer Dracula movie without Christopher Lee. Although there was one, wasn't there, a couple of years after Dracula, 1958. Was it 1960, The Bride of Dracula? It's either 1960 or 1961, where David Peel, he was a kind of a disciple of Dracula. That's a great one, that. The Bride of Dracula. But, I do lament the fact that Christopher Lee wasn't in it. But nevertheless, it was one of Hammer's best Dracula movies, in my opinion. It should have really been called, The Disciple of Dracula, because he was basically like a descendant, like kind of a disciple, wasn't he, David Peel? Yeah, but The Bride of Dracula is a great one. Yeah, but it would have been even more great if Christopher Lee had been in it. Right. Brian Gilson, have you read the Hammer books by Wayne Kinsey? No, I haven't read them, Brian. Edward, your Christopher Lee movie, there are many, many. Of course, my favourite ones are the Draculas, aren't they? Richard Brown, Alan, I've got one of your books of stories in my Amazon baskets. Oh, thanks very much. Yeah, thanks, Richard. Yeah, and if you could, once you've read it, if you've got the time, could you just leave a little review for me on Amazon? I'd really appreciate that. Oh, thanks very much, Richard. Yeah, I hope to be bringing out a new one soon. It's going to be a horror movie quiz book, ideal for anybody who runs a quiz league or say entertain the family with quizzes and that. So that's coming out very, very soon. I'm just putting the finishing touches to the last couple of questions and that. They're all grouped into categories, Hammer films, monsters and that. So and I'm hoping to write a novella as well, So thanks very much. Appreciate that. Danny Dukes, I am good. Good at what? KW, I love House of Hammer. I remember guessing them while I was on my summer holidays in 1978. Great mags, yeah. Fantastic, yeah. Another favourite magazine of mine, although this is an American one, was Forrest J. Ackerman's Famous Monsters of Filmland. Any of you guys ever get that? Oh, I was an avid. In the shops in Birkenhead, when I was a kid, to see a copy of that on the racks was an experience, an event. Because, we very, very rarely got American horror magazines. Where I lived in that, so when I saw them in the rack and that, I always snapped them up. I had quite a collection actually. Yeah, love Famous Monsters of Filmland. Yeah, Boris J. Ackerman, he did a fantastic job with that magazine. I used to like the what's names as well. The in the 70s, the British monster mags, very, very colourful. You get like Dracula, Wolfman, Curse of the Werewolf, Legend of the Werewolf, and you get about the movie, and it opened out to two posters, of the movies, what they covered and that. Fantastic, yeah. There's one I remember having, I bought it in February 1976. It had The Scars of Dracula, and it had The Legend of the Werewolf, two movies, but The Scars of Dracula had the scene where, where Christopher Lee, it was cut out of The Scars of Dracula, where Christopher Lee is bending down and he's lapping the blood up of the stomach. This woman's stomach is open and it's all blood all running down the side of her body, and Christopher Lee's lapping it up like a cat lapping milk up. But they cut that out. They cut that out of The Scars of Dracula. They said it was too explicit, So you never know. One day that scene might resurface. You know, because they're finding a lot of deleted scenes now, aren't they, guys, in these movies, and they're restoring them. So you never know. Fingers crossed that you might get an edition of Scars of Dracula where that scene's included, where Christopher Lee's head's bent down and all the blood, and he's lapping the blood up, as I say, you know, like a cat lapping milk up. Very, very gory scene. Yeah, I always wondered when I first watched Scars of Dracula, where's that scene where Christopher Lee is lapping the blood up the woman's stomach, you know. So when subsequently I read that it had been deleted, you know, I realised then, like, you know, it could be lying about somewhere in the vaults, you know. So you never know, somebody might find it and restore it. Michael Adson is saying, didn't Christopher Lee knock his wife about? Oh, no, I've never heard that. Never heard he was a wife beater. That's something I've never heard. I know the accusations came out after Dracula's risen, and another actor said he had seen him hit his wife over the head with the yellow. No, I haven't heard that, Michael. I don't know where you've got that from. No, I've never heard he was a wife beater. That's something I've never heard of Christopher Lee. I think he loved his wife, and he had one daughter, didn't he? I've never heard that he beat his wife. If it's true, like, it's coloured my opinion of him, you know. But no, I've never heard that. Never heard that he was a wife beater. Chestnut 7, many of my horror movie books have Christopher Lee on the covers. Yeah, I know what you mean. I had quite a few horror books with Christopher Lee's face on the cover. I've got one. I've got a big bumper one. All horror stories picked by Christopher Lee, and he writes an introduction to the book. It's a big mammoth book. I think it's one of those Marks and Spencer's bumper horror stories where they had 50 horror stories in. And I've got one with Christopher Lee on the front, and he's written the forward, you know. And I've got a lovely book, a Hammer book, where he's pointing like that. It's Dracula, he's pointing like that with his finger. That's a good one, yeah. Oh yeah. Faces in horror, like, you know, you can find his face everywhere, can't you? KW, the Dark Side books are superb. They are, yeah. Alan Bryce would be very pleased to hear you say that, the editor. Yeah, he would. Yeah, Dark Side books are great. Yeah, Richard Brown, Zodiac is an entertaining series. Yeah, I've got the DVD. Yeah, Anton Rogers, Anushka Hempel, who was in. Yeah, the Scars of Dracula. Yeah, the blonde girl. She plays an astrologist, doesn't she? Yeah, they only made a couple of episodes, didn't he, of Zodiac? I remember watching it in February of 1974. You know, and I say I've got the DVD of it now, so I'm just going through that. So far, the stories have been a little bit slow. Richard Brown, did you ever get Shivers magazine? I did get Shivers magazine. I always remember there was a story by Graham Masterson called Eric the Pie, which was censored. You know, it was because it was too explicit. Yeah, I used to get Shivers mag. It was the same. Is that there's another magazine, wasn't it, called Frighteners? That was the Eric the Pie. But I did get Shivers. That didn't concentrate more on horror movies, whereas Frighteners was more like fiction. Yeah, Eric the Pie, that's right. Eric the Pie was in Frighteners, but Shivers concert was a bit like Starburst, wasn't it? If my memory serves me correctly. Yeah, I did get a couple of copies of that. Tony Crosby saying, there's a great CD out of Hammer themes called Hammer Horror Classic Themes 1958 to 1974, but I can highly recommend it. It puts you right in the atmospheric mood to watch the movies. Yeah, sounds good. Right, guys, I'm going to ask you all a question. Have you got an all-time favorite? Have you got an all-time favorite Christopher Lee movie? Let me know. Be very interested to hear. You know, your number one favorites, Christopher Lee. As I say, I've got that many. I couldn't tell you the number one, but if I was pushed, I would say Dracula, 1958, Dracula's Risen from the Grave, 1968, and The Wicker Man. And of course, if you wanted a non-horror movie, The Man with the Golden Gun, where he played Scaramanga. But yeah, he made so many classics, didn't he? And these movies, guys, what's in the Euro Crypt of Christopher Lee, what I just bought, I haven't seen them. They're all rare movies, you know, so I'm really looking forward to checking them out, you know. So, oh yeah, he's been in countless movies, hasn't he? Those books there testify to how the depth of his work and that, you know, just fantastic. KW, I collect Super 8 films and have some starring Christopher Lee. Scars of Dracula, etc. Yeah, I love Jenny Hanley in Scars of Dracula, and Dennis Waterman was good in that as well, wasn't he? Yeah, he comes to the castle looking for his brother, his wayward brother. Christopher Lee, his face and that, he looks like a real corpse, doesn't he? The makeup what they put on him, it's really pale, isn't it? It makes his face look really like a real cadaver, doesn't it? You know, oh, I love the Scars of Dracula. Brian Gilson, KW, that's amazing, yeah. I tell you what I'd love to have, guys, one day. I bet if you've seen those Christopher Lee models, what you put together. They're fantastic, yeah. There's one, the Scars of Dracula, where he's got like different faces. You can swap his faces over. One where he's just staring like that, and one where he's baring his fangs. Oh, they look real realistic, yeah. So they're like action, man. You know, they're like those Aurora figures. You know, remember the Aurora plastic model kits? Yeah, they're like that. But oh yeah, I think they're quite expensive, like. But they're like the ones what you can get in Forbidden Planets, like Michael Myers ones and the Freddy Krueger ones. They're about that big, you know. But oh yeah, real realistic and that, you know. So hopefully, if they come down in price, I might treat myself to one. Amy, it was the BBFC that cut the scene from Scars of Dracula. I might have known it was them. Yeah, might have known it was them. KW. No, Lee was a gentleman. I know, yeah. I don't know where that rumour was. He was a wife beater. First I've ever heard that. Michael Adson. The other rumour about Christopher Lee was he injected the family dog with tapes because it was always barking. Horrible if true. Oh, I don't believe that. I don't think he'd be the type to do that. Yeah, I know he's played many unpleasant characters, hasn't he? On the screen. I don't think he'd do that, you know. It just didn't seem that type of man, you know. He was very cultured and real gentleman, wasn't he, like Peter Cushing? I can't see him doing that. Richard Brown, never heard of Christopher Lee as a wife beater. No, I haven't heard of him as a wife beater either. His wife's nice. I think her name's Burgess. Lovely lady, yeah. Brian Gibson to Richard Brown, I love Shivers magazine, yeah. Tony Crosby says, when you watch a film with either Lee or Cushing, you are guaranteed a great time. Yeah, you're guaranteed a treat. Yeah. As I said before, when I used to see them in a film together, and even my family, they used to say, oh, Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing are on tonight. I used to rub my hands with glee. I used to count the hours to 10:30 for them to coming on, you know, for the movie to start. Yeah, oh yeah, fantastic, yeah. Real stalwarts of horror they were. KW, I love Scars of Dracula, yeah. It's not to everyone's taste, but I like it a lot. I do. Despite the they criticise it, don't they, for the cheesy special effects with the bats, you know, the rubber bats and that, but you know, I love it. I can live with those cheesy special effects. The movie's that good, you know. I love the part where they're going to try at the beginning, where they're going to burn Dracula's castle down, you know, all the villages and that. Yeah, it's great. Oh yeah, real thrill ride that. From start to finish, and the part where Dennis Waterman, you know, when he's climbing down the wall, isn't he? He's going to go into that room, you know, where Dracula is and that, and Clove, slimy Clove, he tries to cut the rope, doesn't he? Yeah, trapping him in the room with Dracula. Yeah, and where Dennis Waterman, he discovers his brother's body impaled and that. Dracula's killed him, and he's impaled on the wall, isn't he? Yeah, all bloody. Oh yeah, so many iconic moments in that Scars of Dracula. Oh yeah, fantastic, and it's great to have the Scream Factory Blu-ray with Christopher Lee commenting on it, yeah. Oh yeah, fantastic, yeah. I could have gone on watching Christopher Lee play Dracula forever. He was that good, you know. He was just such an icon of horror. You know, he put everything into the role, didn't he? He had the voice, he had the eyes, the look. I used to like the cloak he wore with the red line, and you know, and the way he used to stand there in the forest and that. In one particular scene, I think it's Dracula's risen from the grave. The barmaid and that, she's getting chased by a horse and carriage, I think, driven by the priest who Dracula's took over, and she goes into the woods and that, and she rests against this tree, and then she turns around and Dracula's there, standing there, behind the tree. Oh, fantastic, yeah. So many iconic moments in those Dracula movies, guys, as are in the Frankenstein movies. He was the best Dracula. The only Dracula that scared me, Christopher Lee. No other Dracula scared me. No, No, I thought the Nosferatu Dracula was quite creepy. You know, the old black and white one where you see him coming up the stairs as shadow. That was quite scary. And another, this isn't a Dracula. This isn't a Dracula movie, but the kid in Salem's Lot where he floats outside the window and he wants one of the Glick brothers. He wants to be let in, doesn't he? That was quite scary, yeah. And the boy foolishly opens the window and he comes through, doesn't he? That was quite creepy. But yeah, getting back to Dracula, Christopher Lee was the only Dracula that terrified me as a kid. But of course now I'm used to him and that, but I still love watching him in those Dracula films. I like on the rare occasions when he speaks his menacing, malevolent voice, you know, deep voice, you know. As one of you said before, when he counts down, when he bumps those three fellas off, the first, the second, the third. Oh yeah, fantastic, yeah. KW, do you like the City of the Dead, Alan? Yeah, I do like that one. Also called Horror Hotel, isn't it? Christopher Lee plays a college professor, doesn't he? But he's secretly a high priest. Yeah, I like that one. Tony Crosby is saying, like yourself, too many greats to pick a favourite, but I would have to say this. Taste of Blood or The Wicker Man if I had to pick. Yeah, definitely. Two great movies, yeah. I like the part in the subplot in Taste of Blood of Dracula with the blonde girl, a father is it, what's his name? Is it Jeffrey Keane? A father doesn't like her going out to see a boyfriend and he beats her up, doesn't he? He's very cruel to her. And Gwen Watford plays the mother. And yeah, and of course, like she gets her own back. Dracula's standing outside the house and that, and Dracula gets her to kill him. Yeah, I think is it a spade? She hits him over the head with a spade. Yeah, that's great. That one. Yeah. John Carson's good in that as well. I think he's one of the three that's not as bad as the other two, is he, John Carson? Because he advises his son, doesn't he, how to kill Dracula, and of course he ends up dead as well. But yeah, John Carson, he was another great Hammer actor as well, John Carson, yeah. He's good in Plague of the Zombies, John Carson, yeah. Paul Conway, evening, Alan. You okay, Paul? Thanks for dropping by, mate. Very sad news about Raquel Welch. I know, yeah, I was shocked when one of my friends on YouTube broke the news to me last night, yeah. Another Hammer actress gone, yeah, 1 million years BC, yeah. Oh, yeah. You know, she was another icon, wasn't she? Icon of the screen, Raquel Welch, yeah. Yeah, very, very sad. Michael Adson, Christopher was such a nice guy. Can't be true, he's a wife basher. But I heard he was a cross. Oh no, I don't believe that. He was a cross dresser. Don't know the bull. Where are you getting all these rumours from? Brian Gilson. I got Hammer figures of Cushing and Lee as Van Helsing and Dracula for Christmas. They are really good. The company that made them are called Mego. I'll have to check those out, Brian. Yeah, thanks for that, mate. Right, Graham Powell is saying, I saw The Devil Rides Out and Don't Shoot Me, Dracula AD 1972. Dracula AD is a very good movie. Dracula AD 1972, yeah, I love that. As I said before, that's my favourite of the two modern Lee Dracula movies. Yeah, I love that one. Yeah, real groovy, man. Yeah, the part with the is it Christopher Neame? He's the villain, isn't he? He plays Johnny Alucard, and he revives Dracula. He's a descendant of the Johnny Alucard at the beginning of the movie. Yeah, really sort of like evokes the air of the 70s, doesn't it? You know. Stephanie Beecham's good in that as well, as the granddaughter, Van Helsing's granddaughter. Chestnut 7. Somebody's winding you up, Alan. Tapes in the dog. Oh, we'll get rid of him then. We'll zap him. Richard Brown, Michael Adson, stop trolling. Yeah, stop trolling. Clear off. I could use stronger words, but I won't. I don't allow swearing on my channel. Yeah, Troll sussed him earlier. Well, we'll get rid of him then. Put him in a timeout. I'd like to put him somewhere even worse. Maybe in Dracula's castle. Graham Powell, the Gorgon was one of my favourites as well. Loved his character in that. Yeah, he's good. Yeah. Oh, that's a great picture as well, the Gorgon. Lovely restoration, yeah. Richard Brown, God Lad, Brian. Hang on, guys. Sorry, just sort me. Sorry about that, guys. Just a technical hitch there. Brian Gilson, thanks, Richard. Excuse me a minute, guys. Won't be a second. Right, sorry about that, guys. Right, so where are we? Brian Gilson, thanks, Richard. Brian Gilson, thanks, Chestnut Sub 7. Paul Conway is saying, did you like Rasputin the Mad Monk? Love Rasputin the Mad Monk, one of Lee's finest movies. It was a different style for Christopher Lee, but very well acted. Yeah, definitely, yeah. Love Rasputin. He could play any role to a T, couldn't he? Let's face it, Christopher Lee. You know, he's a master of his craft, wasn't he? You know, very, very highly regarded actor, very experienced, you know, absolute master of his craft. Right, Tony Crosby. I have to go, Alan. I had a great time as always. Have a good weekend, Alan, and everyone. See you on the next stream. Oh, thanks very much, To. Yeah, thanks for dropping by. It was nice talking to you again. Have a nice weekend and all going well. I'll talk to you again very, very soon. Take care, mate. Thanks for dropping by. Right, guys, I'm going to be on till I'm going to go till 10:30 tonight, if that's okay. So so I love talking about Christopher Lee and that. So I'm going to go on for an extra half hour, if that's okay. Yeah. So you've got to put up with me now till 10:30. Paul Conway, Dracula AD is a personal favourite. I taped it first on VHS in 1981 off BBC Two when they still showed decent films. Yeah, telly's a load of crap now. I very, very rarely watch telly now, to be honest with you guys. Always put a film on, you know, a TV series like from the 70s or a Hammer film or anything you want to buy, any new horror films. Very, very rarely watch ordinary TV now. Such a lot of crap on. Lot but reality shows, you know, and so-called comedies, what you can't laugh at, is just a load of rubbish. Richard Brown, as a kid, I always used to look through the radio and TV Times, hoping to find any horror films. Same here, yeah. And horror plays as well. They put the odd horror play on, wouldn't they, as well? I've got a couple of TV series. Tales of Unease is a good one from the early 70s, yeah. There's only a couple of stories on it, but I highly recommend that one, guys. You can get it from Network. Tales of Unease, yeah, that's a good one. And of course, Roald Dahl's Tales of, I've got all them. Tales of the Unexpected, yeah, I've got all them. Fantastic, yeah. And of course, I've got the Twilight Zone, Rod Serling one. Yeah, love that one, the black and white one. KW, my phone is about to die. I'll move over to my iPad, but won't be able to comment. Great chat, Alan and co. Oh, thanks very much. Glad you're enjoying it. Yeah, so it's been a good night, guys. Yeah, thanks for turning up. Yeah, I love talking about Christopher Lee. Yeah, so much, you know, he did so much work, didn't he, you know, as these books, you know, attest, you know, especially that one, the Christopher Lee Film Encyclopedia. That's a great one, that really is. Yeah, everything, DVDs, movies, TV appearances, commentaries, it's all in here, guys, yeah. Notes on every movie, and even comments again by Christopher Lee, you know. Fantastic, yeah. Newspaper and magazine reviews, critical evaluation, synopsises. Many of the entries also feature Sir Christopher's recollections about the production, as well as the actors' insights about his directors and fellow co-stars, yeah. Fantastic, as is that other one as well. Christopher Lee Filmography. Another great one. So there you go. Absolute mine of information if you're a Christopher Lee fan. Brian's saying, how is season 3 of Creepshow? I would love to get the Blu-rays. I haven't watched them yet, Brian. No, I'm waiting for the first season to come. So once I get the first season, I'm going to watch them, you know, in order, in chronological order. Yeah, I did have the first series a couple of years ago, but some of the stories were a bit meh. But with me getting these two, season 2 and 3, I'd also get the other one again, because I'm a completist, and give them another go to see if I like them any better. Because sometimes when I give a series or a movie a rewatch, I've liked it a bit better, you know. So I'm waiting for that season 1 to come. And once I get season 1, I'm going to watch them all, as I say, in chronological order, and I'll let you know what I thought of them. Might even do a top 5 favourite Creepshow episodes. Might do that with the Night Gallery, actually, just near the end of season 3 of Night Gallery. You know, the series that was on in the early 70s, hosted by Rod Serling. So I've just got about 3 or 4 left on them. So once I've done them, I might do my top 5 Night Gallery episodes. So stay tuned for that. Richard Brown, Alan, any plans to do a TV horror live stream? Yeah, I might do. Just do that. TV horror, yeah, very much in the back of my mind, that, yeah. So watch this space, yeah. Dr. Impossible. I better say cheers, Alan. Got a load of paperwork to do, so up until the early hours. Oh, okay, Doctor. I quite understand. Yeah. Thanks for turning up. I always love talking to you. Yeah. And you know, have a nice weekend, whatever you decide to do. And all going well. I'll talk to you again very, very soon. Take care, Doc. Peter Sutcliffe. Oh, not the Peter Sutcliffe. Hi, Alan. Love the stream so far. Quite a long one tonight. Yeah, well, yeah, Christopher Lee, you know, I could talk about him till the cows come home, you know, as I could Peter Cushing, you know, Boris Karloff, all my famous horror stars. I would talk about them, you know, because I grew up with all those stars, you know. They were my first introduction to horror. Those guys, their movies, what made me a horror fan. So yeah, never get tired of talking about them. Sammy Adams is saying, great episode, Alan. I'm off for the night. Cheers, man. Yeah, okay, Sammy, no worries. Yeah, thanks for turning up. It's been very nice talking to you. And all going well. I'll talk to you again very, very soon. Have a nice weekend anyway. Thanks. Peter's saying, how about doing a live stream horror quiz? Would be yeah. Horror quiz, yeah. Provided there wouldn't be any cheating looking on Google. Yeah, that would be good, that. A horror quiz, yeah. Yeah. anybody, while we're on the subject of Christopher Lee, guys, anybody buy that first box set, the Euro Crypt of Christopher Lee that came out a year or two ago, which I was very, very disappointed with. There was included with the movies. There was a TV series he made. I think it was for Poland, where he comes on for barely a minute and he introduces a horror story for each each episode. But they weren't much cop the stories. Did any of you buy that box set? If you did, what did you think of it? Yeah, let me know. I'd be very interested, to hear your thoughts on that. As I said, when I've done the unboxing of that Christopher Lee Euro Crypt 2, it's a great shame that first set wasn't good, because I would have had a nice little double bill there, the 2 box sets, but what can you do? Richard's asking me, have you got a favourite horror director? A favourite horror director? I like James Whale. He directed Frankenstein movies. I like Alfred Hitchcock, one of my favourites. I like Dario Argento. I like Terence Fisher. I like William Castle. He's good, William Castle. Yeah. I like Eli Roth as well. I like some of his movies as well. Eli Roth. Yeah. Who's the guy that done the James Wan, The Conjuring? He's quite good. James Wan. Yeah. I like Michael Winner as well. The Death Wish movies. Yeah. Graham Powell. Lee played a bar owner in the film Battle of the River Place. I haven't seen that one. Battle of the River Place. God, he's played some diverse characters, hasn't he? Over the years, Christopher Lee. Oh yeah, real diverse roles. Yeah. There's still quite a few Christopher Lee movies I've never seen. So it'd be nice one day to have them all. Well, of course, the ones I like, that is, in me Christopher Lee Blu-ray and DVD collection. Yeah. There was another Christopher Lee movie. He made it. Was it Spain? It's called The Bloody Judge. Have you seen that one, The Bloody Judge? It was alright. It wasn't great. It wasn't one of his best. Yeah. And also, that's one we haven't touched on tonight, guys. The Fu Manchu Christopher Lee movies. And have you seen them? Fu Manchu. He was great taking Fu Manchu off. Granted, the stories were a little bit meh, But and he'd always say at the end, wouldn't he? Fu Manchu, the world shall hear from me again. And he'd pop up again. I think he made I think The Face of Fu Manchu was the first one, and then he made 3 in Britain, and then he made 2 in abroad. Yeah, The Castle of Fu Manchu. It was one of them. Yeah, but yeah, they're not bad. They're not great. They're not fantastic, but they're okay. He's good playing Fu Manchu. I believe Boris Karloff played Fu Manchu as well, didn't he? In the 1930s, was it The Mask of Fu Manchu? Yeah. Based on the novels by Sax Rohmer. Yeah, Fu Manchu. Yeah. Oh yeah, he did play Fu Manchu. Good, Christopher Lee. Michael Winner is very underrated. Yeah, I love his Death Wish movies. They're fantastic. Chestnut 7, not keen on the Fu Manchu. Yeah, my mum doesn't like the Fu Manchu. I don't mind them. They're not great. If you like Christopher Lee, in a different role, they're all right to watch, like on a rainy Sunday afternoon, because he is a swine in them, all the traps and torture chambers he has and that. When he captures the professors and the like, holds them hostage and he threatens to blow the world up and that, he can be a real evil bee, a real badass, as bad as Dracula in some of those movies, yeah. But, they're not great. I have to admit, they're not great. They're watchable. Just bear with me, guys. Just getting the comments. Right. Brian Gilson is saying, have you seen The Howling 2? I've got it on Blu-ray. Arrow. I read that when Christopher Lee worked with Joe Dante on Gremlins 2, he apologised to him for appearing in it. Oh, I haven't heard that story, Brian. He apologised. He apologised to him for appearing in it. Why would he apologise? Right. Richard Brown saying Jess Franco did The Bloody Judge, yeah, and a couple of the Fu Manchu films, yeah. The foreign movies, the foreign Fu Manchu movies, what Christopher Lee made, yeah. Anthony's here. You okay, Anthony? Good evening, Alan. Yes, I have The Bloody Judge on the old Blue Underground DVD, yeah. Christopher Lee boxer, yeah, definitely. Box set, sorry, yeah, the box set, yeah. Peter's saying, Leah's done more great horrors than I've got bodies under my patio. You're not the Peter Sutcliffe, are you? I'll have to zap you if you are. Can't imagine anybody would adopt his name. Paul Conway, I believe Christopher Lee loved heavy metal. Yeah. Well, he done a heavy metal record, didn't he? Yeah. He's a very cultured man and all. He loved his opera, didn't he, as well? Yeah. Baritone voice, deep, sonorous baritone voice. I loved his voice, the way he spoke, yeah. Just as I love Boris Karloff's voice, you know, and Vincent Price's voice, yeah. All those, when you think about it, guys, all those horror actors, they had distinctive voices, didn't they? You know, that stood out, yeah. You haven't really got anybody like that now, have you? You know, to sort of like fill their shoes, basically. You know, but oh yeah, they were just classics of horror cinema. When you think of horror stars, you think of Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi, you know, people like that, Lon Chaney Jr., the Wolfman, you know, people like that, you know. But now, yeah, got hardly any horror stars. Chestnut 7 is saying, the scene in the waxworks in the House of Drip Blood on my Blu-ray seems longer. Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, that's a great one, that. The House of Drip Blood. Paul Conway, The Creeping Flesh is an underrated classic, yeah. Yeah, as I say, I hope Arrow or Indicator get the rights to release it on Blu-ray, and I'd be the first in the line to buy that, I tell you. Richard Brown saying, did you see Christopher in the Three Musketeer films? I've seen bits of them. Yeah, I don't really go on them, the Musketeer films. I'm not really a great fan of the period swashbucklers, to be honest with you. That's why I didn't like the Captain Kronos, the Hammer film Captain Kronos. I'm not really a great fan of those swashbuckling period pieces. But yeah, I've seen bits of them. Oliver Reed isn't Oliver Reed in one. And I remember Christopher Lee in an interview where he said those swords, what they were real swords, and you had to be careful you didn't sustain a nasty injury. I do remember him saying that in an interview. But yeah, I've only seen bits of them. You're not really a great fan of the, as I say, swashbucklers. Brian's saying the guy who sang the Monster Mash was really good at doing Boris Karloff's voice. Yeah, Bobby Pickett and the Crypt Kickers. It was the Monster Mash with the Graveyard Smash. He even had the lisp as well, didn't he? Yeah, sorry about the poor impression, guys. Yeah, but yeah, I love Monster Mash. I think that's my favourite. Horror spoof record, the Monster Mash. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. When I first heard it in 1973, I was blown away. Yeah, actually thought it was Boris Karloff. Yeah, it was that good. You know, yeah, really good. I believe it was out in the 60s first, wasn't it? And it got re-released in 1973. Yeah, fantastic. What's the Monster Mash? The Graveyard Smash. For Mash Gets Smashed. Remember that advert? The Mash Gets Smashed with the aliens and that. I used to love that advert when I was a kid. I used to love that Cadbury Smash potato, but I don't know what they've done with it, guys, but it's horrible now. It hasn't got the same flavour. A lot of the foods now, you know, they don't taste the same as they used to. You know, they've messed around with it. It's all this healthy eating, I think. They think like people don't notice that they're tampering with our food, but we bloody do. You know, especially with some of the chocolate bars as well. They're taking the sweetness out the chocolate bars and that, and they're making them more dark chocolate than milk chocolate, and they're horrible. You know, Kit Kats have gone awful. Yeah, but so they think they think they're trying to fool us by just doing it subtly, but you can tell the difference, believe me. Anthony's saying would be great if there was a 4K UHD release of The Wicker Man for its 50th anniversary this year. Yeah, I'd second that. I'd love to see a 4K of the original Wicker Man. Yeah, fantastic. One of my all-time favourite movies, that The Wicker Man. Yeah, definitely. Paul Conway saying actors today are so bland compared to Lee, Cushing and Price. Yeah, horror is dead, to be honest. Just pointless remakes. Yeah, pointless remakes and too many bloody teenagers in the woods. You know, this is the thing, you see, especially with the American horror movies. They seem to be relying on amateur actors. You know, teenagers you've never seen before. They just put them all together in a car. They go out into the woods and that. You can guarantee you get one who's boozing and fancies his chances with all the birds and that, a big head. And then you get like a wimpy guy, and you get like sort of like a kind of a, well, you know, like a kind of like a sex bomb in them, like, you know, flaunting the stuff and that. They follow the same formula, guys. You know they're going to get bumped off one by one, you know, and there's nobody you can really root for, and, you know, every other word is peppered with an expletive. You know, there's no need for it, like every other word, swearing all the time, you know, that's one thing I can say about the horror films of old. You know, they didn't have to do all that. You know, to say cheap jump scares, vulgarity, profanity. You know, they could tell a good story without resorting to you know, the gutter, if you know what I mean. You know, these horror films now, they've got no idea. These writers, they're just churning. This business now that they're making like characters like Winnie the Pooh into horror characters. I'm not sure whether I agree with that. You know, making like kids. You know, kids grew up with, you know, Winnie the Pooh and characters like that. Most probably be Noddy will be next, making him like a Jason Voorhees. I don't know whether that'll work or not, guys, to be honest with you. You know, I will watch that Winnie the Pooh one to see what I think of it, but I don't agree with them. You know, surely they've got like writers like sending in, you know, unknown writers sending in scripts what would make good horror movies. Why are they going back? You know, covering old ground again and again and again, you know, churning out the same old thing time after time, what you've seen a million times before. You know, they need to be a bit more original with their scripts, you know. It's ridiculous. Richard Brown's saying, Christopher apparently told someone on a film set how to react to being stabbed. That's right, he did, yeah. How to react to being stabbed, as he had stabbed people when he was in the army during the war. Yeah, he was in the war, wasn't he? Saw a lot of horrific things in the war. And I was, funny enough, I was only watching a video earlier on about that. How he, you know, when he got stabbed in one of the Lord of the Rings movies, where he didn't scream. He said, well, when somebody gets stabbed in the back, they sort of like go, the breath comes out the body. You know, that's how Christopher described it. So that's how he wanted to sort of like recapture that. The actual reaction to being stabbed in the back, rather than screaming their heads off when you get stabbed. The sharp intake of breath, like sort of thing, the shock of the knife going through your back. You know, he wanted to make it as accurate as, you know, as accurate as possible. And that's how much of a professional he was. You know, he took his work seriously, didn't he? Brian's saying, what's your favourite Blu-ray watching snacks? Well, I like the twirl, and I like to nibble on a twirl and a flake while I'm curled up on the couch watching a Blu-ray. Maybe sometimes a packet of crisps, you know. Yeah, so it's either a twirl, a flake, or a packet of crisps. Yeah. Sometimes sometimes a can of lager. Yeah, maybe on a Saturday night, and that's it really. Richard Brown, have you done a Vincent Price special, Alan? No, I'm going to do that sometime soon. Yeah, so watch this space. Love Vincent Price. Yeah. So yeah, so that is very much in the pipeline, as is a Peter Cushing special. So again, watch this space, and maybe even a Charles Bronson special. So if any of you love Charles Bronson, you might be interested in attending that. As I say, watch this space. Paul Conroy, I love Christopher Lee as the pompous art critic getting stalked by the hand. Oh yeah, in Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. Oh, he was real pompous in that, wasn't he? Yeah, real stuffy and pompous. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, he was very, very serious in a lot of his roles. He was really serious, wasn't he? You know, and yeah, he took his work very, very seriously, you know, and yeah, well, a real professional he was, yeah. Well, that character he played in that Dr. The Pompous Art Critic, that was one of his best roles, I think, yeah. Fantastic, yeah. Oh, he had a horrible death though, didn't he? A real horrible death. Chestnut 7, they'll be making Carry On cancelling. Yeah, Carry On cancelling, yeah. They want to bloody cancel all the bloody wokes. Cancel them. Sam K.A. is asking me, Alan, have you watched Clarkson's Farm on Prime? No, is it good? Is it a horror, Sam? I haven't heard of that. Talking about TV horror series, guys, have any of you seen that? Watched that Lovecraft Country? I saw the Blu-ray of that in HMV the other week when I was shopping, and I know it's been on. Is it Netflix? I think it's been on Netflix. Lovecraft Country. It's got a black lady in it. Have you seen it, guys? Let me know if you've seen it, if it's any good. I like H.P. Lovecraft stories. Paul Conway, the Cadbury's roses taste like crap compared to the big tin box in the 80s. Yeah, as I say, they're messing around now with all the sweets and that. Even the Cadbury's cream eggs aren't the same because they've done something to the interior, didn't they? You know, it's not as milky as it used to be. It's more like gooey. You know, why don't they leave our bloody food alone? It's just like the, as I say, the woke brigade. Why can't they just leave us to enjoy our lives and that, and savour all the pleasures what we savoured for years? Why did they have to stick there, have to meddle around with our lives and that, tell us what not to watch, what not to eat? Oh, they just annoy me, guys, they really do. And I just hope it all implodes sooner rather than later and we get back to some semblance of sanity. Chestnut 7, Peter Cushing spoke to doctors or surgeons, I read, about how to do something. He did, yeah, he wanted to be accurate when he was playing Dr. Frankenstein. Like, for instance, when he was sore in the head, he had like from some of the interviews I've watched of people who worked with him, he brought a cabbage on, and he, as he was cutting it, the cabbage was supposed to replicate the sound of an actual head being sort of like severed from the body. So that's how he got the sound right. Yeah, he used to ask doctors and that exactly the sounds and that what they'd make when they were dissecting a corpse or whatever and that, you know, or operating on somebody. Really wanted to be accurate, you know. Yeah. Heard that a few times. Richard Brown saying thumbs up for Cushing and Bronson. Yeah, definitely. They are definitely in the pipeline. Might even be Peter Cushing next week, so watch this space. Right, Chestnut 7, how would you get rid of the hand? Oh, now you're asking. Don't know. If it's a supernatural hand, I think it takes some getting rid of, you know, like the Beast with 5 fingers. Any of you guys seen that one? The Beast with 5 fingers. That's a good one with Peter Lorre. Yeah, I think it was made in the 50s or late 40s. That's a good one. Chestnut 7 is saying, have you seen They Live? John Carpenter. Yeah, I have seen it. You know what I didn't like about that movie? What spoils it for me? That long drawn out fight scene. Yeah, it seems to go on forever. That, you know, was it the Negro chap he was fighting with? In like a warehouse. Oh, that seems to go on and on forever. That I didn't think much of the story either. I thought it was very weak. You know, I think it's very overrated, that film, as is The Thing, the other John Carpenter movie. I'm not too keen on that. I've watched that a couple of times, and you know. Oh, but I tell you what, guys, I watched the. I thought that one was mediocre. The Thing, the John Carpenter. I watched the original from the 50s. Oh, that was even worse. It was an awful movie. The Thing from Another World, yeah, based on the short story Who Goes There. I had the HMV Premium Edition, and I watched it the other night. Oh my days, was I bored with that? It was a load of utter, complete rubbish. It really was. So I flung it on eBay. Oh, the monster wasn't scary. There was a lot of talk in it. You know, they were in the Arctic and that, you know, and oh, it was just terrible, guys. It was an awful movie. Yeah, the original Thing from Another World, yeah. Which was, as I say, the John Carpenter was a remake of it. But yeah, I don't care for either of those movies, guys, and particularly that one, that original. It was a dreadful movie. I don't know what all the fuss was about. So yeah, I wasted me money on that. Brian Gilson saying, I've heard Lovecraft Country is really good, but I think it only ran for 1 season. Oh right, yeah. Yeah, I've always wondered what that Lovecraft Country was like. You know, I saw it in HMV, the Blu-ray, but I thought, I wonder what that's like. I'll tell you one horror series, guys, I wasn't too keen on. I only bought the first, I think there was 3 seasons, The Evil Dead. You know, the Evil Dead TV series. You know what spoke that? Putting comedy in. It was a bit cheesy as well. The dialogue was a bit cheesy. I like my horror films and horror TV series serious. And once you start putting comedy in, they done it with Freddy Krueger, you know, and even some of the creep shows. The first creep show season, they started putting comedy in, and it totally detracts from the horror content. Yeah, I didn't care for that at all. That Evil Dead series. So yeah, I didn't bother getting season 2 and season 3. I didn't like it. Really, as regards to Evil Dead, the only 2 I like are Evil Dead, the original, and Evil Dead 2. I didn't like that bloody third one where we went into medieval times. Oh, that was a bloody rubbishy movie, that. Where they went into, yeah, Evil Dead 3, where they go back into sort of like, is it the 15th century, 14th century? Oh, that was terrible, that. Awful movie. Well, it's one of those Marmite movies, isn't it? Some like it and some loathe it. I bloody hated that. I really did. Yeah, my favourite one is the original. You know, the very first one. I like the second one as well. Yeah, but I don't like that third one. It's awful, awful one that. Richard's asking me favourite Lovecraftian film. Well, I like Reanimator. I like From Beyond. I like the Dunwich Horror. I like the one. Excuse me. You know the Masters of Horror series, guys. That episode, The Dreams in the Witch House, with the rat hybrid Brown Jenkin. I like that one. That's a good one. That's one of his best. That one, The Dreams in the Witch House. Yeah, yeah. Oh, he was a good writer, but as I say, his books do take some getting used to. Very, very difficult to get into. You know, the style he writes. But yeah, they're my favourites. Yeah. So right, guys, I'll be going off at 10:30, so I'll try and get through as many as I can before 10:30. I really enjoyed it. Thanks very much for turning up, guys. I've enjoyed talking about Christopher Lee and other subjects as well. So as I say, next week it might very well be a Peter Cushing one. So if you like Peter Cushing, you might like to tune into that. Hang on, sorry guys, the comments have just jumped there. Brian Gilson is saying, have you seen the new 4K of From Beyond? I haven't seen the new 4K, Brian, no. But I've got the I have got the Screen Factory one, which was released a couple of years ago, and that's quite a good one. That, yeah, it's got the slipcover as well. Yeah, From Beyond. Yeah, oh, that's it. I wouldn't mind checking that 4K out actually. This is the thing with 4K, isn't it? They're a bit of hit and miss. You know, some are good, better than the Blu-ray, and some are basically the same, you know. So what I do before I even venture to buy a 4K, I read up on them to see what other people think, you know, if it's worth it, and if the reviews are glowing and they recommend that they are worth upgrading, I will buy one. But if I see that there's not much difference, I just bypass it, you know, as I'm sure most of you guys do, you know, because what's the point of buying? What's the point if you've got the Blu-ray and the picture quality is good on that? What's the point of upgrading to 4K if there's not much difference in the picture? So that's basically my philosophy. I watch all the reviews first on, you know, 4K to see if there's substantial difference, and if there is a substantial difference, I will upgrade. But if not, I won't bother. So Chestnut Step 7 is saying, Wasn't the original Evil Dead going to be a comedy? Then they changed their minds. I heard that somewhere. Oh, I don't know about that. Yeah, I'm not too sure about that. But that series was dreadful. You know, it really was. It was awful. I'll tell you another series, guys. Although I love the movies, I absolutely love the movies, I didn't care for that Wolf Creek series at all. It was more centred on the girl, you know, rather than Mick Taylor. You didn't really see much of Mick Taylor. You know, there was no comedy in it. But, you know, I just didn't like the format, the storyline, the way it was paced out. Well, sort of like, you know, the pacing was very poor, quite slow, and the story was a bit dull, you know, so I didn't bother getting season 2. But I do prefer the Wolf Creek films. I don't know if they're going to ever release a Wolf Creek 3. That's been on the cards for years, so I don't know if John Jarvis is going to make a third Wolf Creek. So I haven't heard any more about that. So maybe he isn't. Maybe he's just concentrating on the TV series. I don't know. We have Mr. Peter Sutcliffe back again. Has he gone? Just joking. Sorry if it's already been asked, but do you like Sleepy Hollow? I've never seen it. That's the Headless Horseman, isn't it? I've never seen it. I've only seen the odd clip of it. I've never seen it right through, so I can't really comment on that, Peter. I know it's from a novel, isn't it? Yeah, but I'll have to get the DVD of that and watch it and do a review of it. But yeah, I know the one you mean, the Headless Horseman. Right, we've just got under 5 minutes to go, guys. So as I say, I'm signing off at 10:30. So I'll try and get through as many comments as I can. And you know, if you've got any last minute thoughts about Christopher Lee, any questions, you know, please feel free to voice them. Favourite Dracula movie, favourite Christopher Lee non-horror role, you know, favourite book on Christopher Lee, yeah, let's have them, you know, because after all, that's what it's about tonight, Christopher Lee. So Yeah, so it's great. It's something I never even dreamed of when I used to watch Christopher Lee all those years ago on the old black and white telly, and then later on in the 70s when he got our colour. I never dreamed that one day I would own all the Christopher Lee films, and in collection on such a format as DVD and then Blu-ray. The nearest I ever got when I first started watching Christopher Lee as Dracula in the 70s, the nearest I ever got to Harbour and Designs of owning his films was the old projectors. Because I saw in one of the papers one day, I saw them advertising these movies. You needed to have a projector, and I saw Taste of Blood of Dracula. I thought to myself, oh, I'd love to have one of those projectors. That would be the first movie I'd get, Taste of Blood of Dracula. But I say, little did it. Well, did anybody envisage that one day we'd have the likes of DVD and Blu-ray and the internet? Never in our wildest dreams. It just shows how technology can advance, doesn't it? So it's great. It's really cool to own all those movies I've loved for years in my collection, and I can put on, watch, whenever I want, and they haven't been tampered with by bloody mindless wokes, the woke brigade. Don't half anger me, them. They really do. Richard Brown, the least favourite Christopher Lee film. Now you're asking. Well, there was one particular one which I thought was absolutely, and I mean absolutely atrocious for a Christopher Lee film, and that was the Sherlock Holmes film that was in that first Christopher Lee box set. It was a terrible one. Was it Sherlock Holmes and the Pearl of Death? I think it was Sherlock Holmes and the Pearl. Well, it was awful. Even his voice was bloody dubbed. It wasn't his voice. The story was slow. It was boring. It was dull. The pacing was poor. The acting was terrible. Oh, it was awful. I don't know why they saw fit to dub Christopher Lee's voice. That put the kibosh in it for me when I saw they dubbed his voice. Oh, that was it. Yeah, that was the worst movie, guys, in that box set. That Sherlock Holmes. Honestly, I'm not kidding. I think it's the worst bloody Christopher Lee movie. The worst bloody Christopher Lee movie I've ever seen in my whole life. Yeah. So if you've got the Euro Cryptic Christopher Lee Part 1, you'll know exactly what I mean. Terrible movie. Didn't like it at all. Chestnut F7 is saying, I know it's great to imagine if DVDs came out in our day. I know, yeah. Fantastic invention. Peter Sutcliffe, what was Christopher Lee's last film he made again? What was Christopher Lee's last film he made? I don't know what his last film was. It wasn't one of the was it one of the Lord of the Rings films? Anybody enlighten me, guys? What was Christopher Lee's last film? Those books, they only go up to, I think they only go up to about, is it 2010 or 2009? Yeah, I'm not too sure, Brian Gilson, I think it was The Wicker Tree. Don't know, I'm not sure. He made one called The Resident, didn't he? That was one of his last movies. Yeah, you didn't see much of him. The Residents. Yeah, I didn't think much of that one. Jamie Frisbee. Oh, Jamie, you're really late to the party. I'm just about to finish. Hi, Alan. Sorry I'm late. Have you ever saw The Whip in the Body with Christopher Lee, done by an Italian director, I believe? Yeah, I spoke about that before, Jamie. I didn't really like it. Yeah, I'm sorry you're late, yeah. I was going to finish at 10, but I've enjoyed talking about Christopher that much. I thought I'd extend it to 10:30, so I'm sorry you're late to the party, but I'm sure you'll catch up on it, rewatch it and that, so yeah. Alright, yeah, sorry about that, Jamie, yeah. But thanks for turning up anyway, mate, yeah. Richard Brown, Mario Barber, yeah, The Whip in the Body. I'll try and whiz through as many of these comments as I can, guys, before I finish, yeah. Chestnut S7, last Hammer film was The Devil a Daughter, yeah. Jamie, one of the Star Wars films, I'm not too sure. I'm not really a fan of those. Yeah, so just a couple more minutes then, guys, and I'll sign off, yeah. Well, thanks again anyway for turning up, and I really enjoyed talking about Christopher Lee. And next week, it might be a Peter Cushing one, so stay tuned for that, yeah. And if any of you are out and about doing your Blu-ray and DVD pickups, I hope you managed to pick up some bargains, yeah. So there you go, yeah. Right, well the comments seem to have dried up now. Alright then, guys, so I'm going to love you and leave us now. So thanks again for turning up. I really enjoyed it tonight, talking about Christopher Lee and that, and other subjects besides. And yeah, I say all going well. I hope to be back again next Thursday, same time, same place, with another live stream, which I think the subject will be Peter Cushing, yeah. Alright then, guys, bye for now. Have a nice weekend. Take care. Bye.